The Earth is very flat.
What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. 7/21/21. Sounds like a good day to play the lottery. Anyway, what's going on, guys? We got Earth LARP dumpster fire. Yes, another fake space shepherd billionaire. We'll talk about that. I didn't realize there was two. It took me a little while to put it together. But yeah, there was another glorified carnival ride this week. We'll talk about that. We got Bill G says sounds good. Thank you very much. Toady UK, hey Toady. White's Word, Anthony Burrows, Will Gaston, UD Media, page 42. Bill G was first. Congrats, Bill G. And White's Word is saying that there is another full lockdown down in Australia. What the hell, man? What's going on down there? We got nothing going on up here. What are we going to talk about today? Well, I kind of talked about it already. We're going to talk about the New Shepherd, I think is what that thing is called. And watched a few videos and noticed a couple things. I thought it might be fun to talk about that. And then, what else we got? I had some other stuff. I'm looking at my notes right now. I got a lot of videos about that. I don't know if we'll get to all those. We'll see what else we talk about. I thought I had some more stuff. I guess it must be buried in here or something. And yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Let's go see what's going on in Discord. Not my best opening. I will admit that. What's going on, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Hey, what's up, Brandon?
What's up?
We got you.
Maybe.
Hey, Bob. We got Effie Walker, Farming Ganja, Face, 111, Effie, self-evidently, and Crit. Good crew to start off the show with. How you guys doing today?
I think I'm doing all right, maybe.
Good. Okay, all right. I know what everybody's excited about today. I know what you guys are dying to talk about. And that is
We got a show today.
Huh? Yeah, we're having a show, yeah.
That's what we're excited about, Brandon. We got a show today.
That we're actually having a show.
Yeah.
We're excited.
Amazing.
Oh, that hurts. I'm glad you're excited though. What I'm excited about is the New Shepherd. I don't know if you heard or not, but a private company, quote unquote, was able to go 60 miles up and drop a crew from a parachute. So I can't remember the last time that happened, but pretty unreal, huh?
Wait, what did they do?
Just out of the blue, they unannounced. They just did it.
I didn't hear about it beforehand, but then again, I don't follow, Blue Origin's press releases or anything. But in case you missed it, the same thing that was done last week, evidently with a different, setup. Obviously, they had a different rocket and all that shit. Was done this week by Jeff Bezos and his New Shepard rocket. So they rode the flying penis up, and then the head detached.
The big phallus, the phallus rocket.
I mean, you couldn't design it to look any more like that, right?
Oh, if you put balls on the bottom of it, maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's here. I'll put the video on of it. Find the video. One interesting note: New Shepherd, a person who tends to sheep. A shepherd is.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Interesting name. Let me see here. I know I've got the link here. Or was I stupid enough to write down the timestamp without the link to the video? That's pretty stupid. Here it is. I noticed a couple things in this video. Here, let me share my screen that were pretty interesting. There are parts of it also, we probably won't talk about those too much, that straight up look like CGI. I mean, I think a lot of things look like CGI, but when that rocket goes past the camera, it looks like straight up CGI. So let me, here's the launch, I think, right there. Let me see if I can, yeah, we're right there. Okay, so here is the new Blue Origin, New Shepard taking off. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, got it.
I don't know, FE, those fins, man, pretty close. Small balls,
You know,
but they're there.
when do you think rocket designers by now would have figured out the most efficient shape for a rocket? You know, all aeroplanes pretty much look the same. But apparently this guy, he's found by putting a big knob on the top of it, that's more efficient. That's the best way, best design to cut through the air. Instead of having that pointy front like most of them have got, if you put a big knob on the front, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, did
Yeah,
they say
exactly.
too that they had like leading? They put like a beam or like a boon in front of it, so the air deflects different directions. Yeah, how this is like basically a battering ram. How is this thing gonna? I mean, for real.
Hey, everybody. How are you guys today?
Hey, what's up, Lyle?
Hello.
Hey, I was
Evening,
just wondering
Lyle.
what color the rocket is that you're talking about.
Say that again, Lyle.
What is the color of the rocket?
Oh, it's like white and silver.
everyone.
Oh,
Can you see
okay.
it
I
on my
thought
screen?
Kurt would go crazy
Why would you think that?
because you like colors.
Based on
Everything.
just everything, just random everything. Like I've got something to do with colors of a rocket by this company. Is that how your worldview is maintained in 2021?
Yes.
That is a problem, dude, that you really need to fix. Okay? Because you should, by now, you should have moved on to some other person to be a fan of. Okay? I'm not that interesting. You got it?
Yeah, I know. What color are you?
Are you
Pick any color you want.
Thanks,
Okay?
thanks
Just go with
Lyle.
it.
Okay, you
Yeah.
can go back to your cave now, Lyle. Thank you.
I want to point something out. The first thing that I noticed in this video was that at about 1:44, which is in a few seconds, you're going to see a disturbance in the air. So watch for that. Did get a super chat, $10 from Silent Zero. Hello, Brandon. Good day. The Earth is flat, indeed. Thank you, sir. So here it comes. Watch for the disturbance. Ready? It's coming. It's about 150,000 feet up. Supposedly going 2.2 thousand miles an hour. And boom, what was that? See that? I'll play it again in case you missed it. Not the whole thing, though. We don't need to watch the whole thing again. All right, here it comes. Now watch what happens around the rocket. Right there. See it?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Like the air burst?
Where'd it go? Supersonic?
No, it's way past that.
Possibly. Well, that's what my point was, because that's what I thought too. Is that looked like it was breaking the sound barrier, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what it looked like to me. I don't know what the speed of it was, but
Here it is again. Well, the speed that they have on this video says 2,200 and some change. At that altitude, you'd break the sound barrier, according to some information I came across earlier. Right there, 2,100 and some miles an hour, at about 600. So it decreases as you go up in the thinner atmosphere. You break the sound barrier. I don't know what else that could be. Did it like? Is that when it plopped the head off?
The temperature matters for this too, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Maybe that was when it plopped the head off. That might be it, because let's see, before this cut, the rocket's going, and then it's going to cut to another view after whatever it is right there. Boom. The rocket's still in one piece after that, though. And then you get this view. This is looking down the rocket, right? But it did immediately decrease its speed. Yeah, I think it's still attached, actually. This is just a different angle on the rocket.
Was that when the engine cut off? Now you'll see the speeds going down.
Oh, yeah, maybe. That's a good one, too. That might be it. Yeah, it's probably not a coincidence that the engine cut off at the same time that happened, right? Or that the speed decreased. So that might be it. So that's a big nothing burger. Anyway. So I don't know if you guys watched. Yeah? Huh? Somebody say something?
I think that was Dr. Bob. He said he agrees it's a big nothing burger.
Oh, yeah.
No, I just think it's funny. You think it is.
What's that, Bob?
No, I'm amused by the fact that this destroys your entire narrative, yet you think it's funny in a big nothing burger.
CGI cartoons?
What CGI?
The one we're watching, the cartoons we're watching.
The cartoons right now.
No, that's a live broadcast. I watched it at the time. It's a live broadcast.
Oh, we all know
they
they
won't
can't
believe it unless
broadcast
they see it
cartoons
on
on
TV.
television, obviously. Well, wait
They
a
won't
minute.
believe it
Wait a
unless
Tell you
they
what,
see it on TV.
I mean, it's easy to prove it's a CGI thing. I mean, you can do it right now.
Is it? Really?
Yeah, very
It is.
easy.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell
How
you
do we do
exactly
that?
how
How?
to do it.
That would be
You
cool.
go tell me where
Please
Jeff
explain.
Bezos was at the time that rocket went up. You go
I have no idea.
give me proof that he was somewhere else. That's all you have to do.
That's it. That's it.
You're hurting your
That's
own
all you gotta do.
credibility, Bob. I mean, even if you're right, you're just hurting your own credibility, dude.
Not really.
Jeff Bezos. That's your answer.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
just
don't
say
tell me
it's
where he
diary.
was if he
His
wasn't
diary.
in that capsule
His
right on the
diary.
camera right now.
You check his diary. Get into his aircloud. Check his diary, and if it says I was on the rocket, then that's it. It's a globe.
Boom, he was on the rocket.
No, you could see him on the rocket. The only way that you can falsify this is show me he's somewhere else. Feel free. Knock yourself out.
No, they showed nothing of the inside. You never saw one picture from the inside.
That'd shut you up real quick.
There's no pictures from the inside.
What do you mean?
you
Someone's
should-
responding to you
I
right
got a
now.
video
Are you not
of them
listening?
inside.
Oh, hold on, guys.
I
Slow
got a
down.
video of them
we don't
inside.
think there's rockets? Do you think we don't think there's rockets going up into the sky? Is that what you're
Brandon?
suggesting? We're that stupid?
Brandon, can I get you to pull up a video of them inside it and what they were doing inside of it?
Yeah, put the link in the chat.
I don't think you'll get flagged, but Jake the asshole on his channel posted a video, and I'm sure if you play the first little bit of it, he won't flag you.
Why, does he have a history of flagging people?
No, that's what I mean. And he's a flat earther, so I don't think he'll flag you. But I'll try and grab it real quick here.
Okay, yeah, I did watch that earlier though, and yeah, it shows them inside. They could have like scripted it a
Before
little
and after
better. It wasn't
launch.
very interesting. The conversations they were
Before
having.
and after launch, it shows them through the windows of the sealed capsule. Yep.
Woo!
Oh yeah, big deal. I don't even know why we're arguing about whether they're in here or not. If they're in here, okay. If they're not in here, okay.
Went to space. So you agree that they went to space?
Absolutely.
They
not.
went up in a rocket.
well
This
then-
is what, even if everything's true, even if this whole thing's true, and none of this is CGI or none of this is trickery of any kind, which I'm not conceding, by the way.
Well, you don't have a choice to unless you can prove it otherwise.
Okay. Well,
And
you
yet here we
can't
are
prove
making
it,
that choice
you
without
can't
proving
prove
it
that it
otherwise.
is. And neither
Sure
of
I
us can prove it. But anyway, so
Easily
this
proved
rocket
it.
goes up. They go up 60 miles, pop this head off. It floats down to the Earth. How the fuck is that going to space?
Where's space, Brandon?
It's in your mind.
I don't know.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah,
What is the altitude at which it becomes space?
No, hang on. I will define space for you, Bob.
There isn't one.
Yeah,
Hang on,
there
no,
is.
I will define space.
100
This-
kilometers.
The definition of space is the measured distance between two physical objects.
That's
Oh,
one
that is-
definition of it, but it doesn't apply to this one.
All right,
It
I'll
doesn't
tell you,
apply to this context.
Bob, there's nothing special that happens at 100 kilometers or
Yeah,
60
it is. That's the
kilometers
common line. Airplanes
that
won't work
makes
then.
it anything more remarkable than going to 40, 50, 30 in my mind. You tell me what's special about going to
Come on.
60.
But you're not that stupid, Brandon.
Tell me what
You know
special,
there's a
Bob.
difference
Answer the
in
general.
question.
atmosphere and
Want
space,
it.
right? I mean, you can't be that stupid.
Answer the question. You don't
Is
need
this
to
an
ad
act?
bomb. Do you have an argument or no?
Yeah. The
What is
Kármán
it?
line differentiates the atmosphere from space
No, it
by
doesn't.
definition.
No, it
Sure it
doesn't.
does.
Are
That's
you
like saying
saying
that
that
you
at the
cross
state
Kármán
line-
line the
That's like-
atmosphere
that's like
stops,
saying-
Bob? Is that what you're trying to
That's like
tell
saying
me?
That's
like saying we
where
cross
it
state
becomes space. Yeah, that's the definition of the onset of space.
So atmosphere stops at 60 miles.
No.
62 is when space begins. I'm
Does
not
the
saying that
atmosphere
there's
stop
no,
at 62 miles?
I'm not
Atmosphere
saying that
is-
there are no atoms of the atmosphere there, but that is the definition of the start of space. Yes.
Well, then
Okay,
they could
and
have
what
put the
I'm
line
saying
anywhere.
is
If
it's
that's
a
the standard.
completely there's nothing
It's
special
arbitrary.
about 62 miles
Yeah, there
compared
is.
to
It's an arbitrary
61,
It's an
51.
There
arbitrary-
absolutely is, Brandon.
Then what is it?
The Kármán line. The Kármán line is a physical change in the way aircraft operate. It is at 85 miles.
What is
We
the
consider
physical
it
change?
sovereign territory up to not 85 kilometers. We consider it sovereign territory and agreed that we would say space began at 100. It really begins at the Kármán line, which is 85 kilometers up.
So it is at most an agreed upon height
No,
above
it is
sea
not
level.
an agreed upon height. The 100-kilometer limit is an agreed upon height. The height. The Kármán line is an actual thing.
What,
it's
if
not
I go
an
up and look
agreement.
at the
It
Kármán line, what am I going to see?
You're going to see that your aircraft will have to reach orbital velocity in order to generate enough lift to support its weight.
Why?
Because that's what the fucking Kármán line is. Have you ever even looked it up, Brandon? Are you
Does that apply to
obtuse?
rockets? Does that apply to
It
rockets?
applies to everything.
Why would a rocket have to do something special to create lift at 62 miles?
It can't. You can't
Huh?
create enough lift at 62 miles. Now, by
Well,
rocket,
you guys are always telling us
assume you're
that
referring to
rockets
a
work
rocket
just fine
plane.
in vacuums,
No, Brandon,
Bob.
no, I assume that you're
No, hold
referring
on.
to a rocket plane. Because
You
you
are
can't be
always telling us
stupid
that
enough to think that a
rockets
missile
Rockets are more
relies on
efficient.
lift.
You say rockets are more efficient in space because there's no air resistance, don't you?
You need rockets to move in space. You can't use any other method.
Okay, then what
You
the hell
need
does
some
the
sort
Kármán line
of
have to do with a
propulsion.
fucking rocket?
The Kármán line,
Definition.
but Brandon, you can't be that stupid.
See,
We're
you always
talking
go to the
about a
ad hom
rocket
when you
plane.
don't have
Are
a
you
good
referring
argument,
to a
Bob.
rocket plane which
No,
generates lift?
you're being obtuse, Brandon. Shut
This
up.
is your
please.
tell,
Stop being-
Bob. This is your tell, Bob.
No,
you always
it's-
go to that
it's like going over a
ad
state
hom
line.
when you don't have an argument.
It's like going over the state line and
Brandon,
saying,
it's
"Oh,
not
there's
a
no
tell
difference
of any
between Michigan
kind.
and Ohio."
Do you honestly think that a rocket requires lift to move? Or are
Russ.
you referring to a rocket plane, which was the subject of what
Exactly,
we were talking
NASA.
about?
It's in
No,
no
I'm
way
talking about a
significant
rocket
whatsoever, other
that
than
relies
Rockets
on
don't require
thrust.
lift. Rockets don't require lift. The Kármán line has no effect on them.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's nothing
Tip from
special when it
Russo.
comes to rockets about the Kármán line.
Only
Like
that
going over
once
a
they
state
pass it,
border.
they're in space.
NASA just
Stop
basically
it.
made the point
There's no
for you.
difference
He
between,
said
say,
that's
Jersey
like
and New
saying
York.
you
There's
cross
just a
the
line
state
on the
line
ground
into
as
another
someone
state
through.
and then say
Guys,
there's no
This is
difference.
very similar.
This is very similar to a state border, crossing the state border or international
Exactly.
border.
Yes, exactly.
That's my
it's only
argument,
important
paid
because
NASA
we
shill.
decide it's important in our heads. That's
No,
it.
it's a physical,
It's not physically important in any
boundary
way.
where things change.
Nonetheless, they've crossed the border at 100 kilometers. They've been to a different place. I mean, it's no more different than saying I've been to Ohio.
Kármán line is not an arbitrary line. It's a physical property of the atmosphere. The Kármán line is.
the carbon?
Maybe not.
carbon? What creates that?
Yeah, what's
gives us the
different
carbon line?
between 60 miles and 63 miles that happens at 62, Bob?
That's where the international agreement where space begins is.
You
So
said
at
something
61
physical
miles, you're in
happens.
sovereign territory.
You
You
said
said
it was
something
63 you're
physical
not.
happens, Bob. That's what you just
That's
said.
just arbitrary, Bob. You just admitted
I
it.
said it happened at the Kármán line, not 100 kilometers. The Kármán line's at 85.
Okay, what happens at the
What-
Kármán line?
Isn't
Well, then you
the
can no
carbon
longer
line-
generate enough lift to support the weight of your aircraft without reaching orbital speed.
Dr. Bob, isn't the Kármán line just a distinguished point where an aircraft no longer can fly and outer space is beyond that?
That's one way of looking at it, but there's an actual definition of it. But that is
What
the essential,
creates that
that's the
line?
essential thing that's going on. You maneuver by reaction controls once you're above the Kármán line. And there it is
What-
right there. Just read about it.
What gives us the Kármán line?
Physical properties.
Lack of atmosphere.
Yeah, the absence of atmosphere, Brian. If you were flying a plane and you were just going as high as you could go, and you found that you got to a point that you could no longer gain altitude, you're approaching the Kármán line.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
but-
that's not really
What
true.
airplane can fly at 250,000 feet?
That's-
Can someone
Or a
tell me?
better way
not
of saying
really
it
true,
is the
though.
lack of enough atmosphere for a plane to fly.
What stops it? at that-
250,000 feet. We've got an
No, what
airplane
you
that can
said
fly.
was the operational ceiling of an aircraft. That's
What
where it doesn't
stops
have
it?
enough thrust to generate enough lift to continue to climb at a certain rate. It can no
What?
longer climb after that.
What
Now,
stops it at that exact
As far as what aircraft fly at that distance, how about Spaceship Two? It did it this month. Flew over 250,000 feet.
stops the atmosphere at exactly 62 kilometers, 62 miles?
Brian, try and catch up with
He
the
didn't say that,
conversation.
Brian.
I'm not going to
What?
rehash
Bob,
it all for you.
Hold
The
on, Brian.
atmosphere
Hold on, Brian. Bob.
At 62 miles.
Bob. So,
Go ahead.
why is this
Go
a
ahead.
big deal
Stop
that
the
a rocket
atmosphere.
made it up to the Kármán line or past the Kármán line?
Because that's where space begins.
So what stops the atmosphere from
Hold
going off
on,
into
Brian.
space?
God dang, hold on, man. So that's where space begins, but there's nothing particularly special in regards to a rocket making it to that point, right? That's been
It's
happened
the
many times
definition-
before,
it's the
and a rocket
altitude
relies
above
on
Earth at
thrust.
which space begins.
Sorry?
It is the altitude above the Earth at which space begins. If a
Okay.
rocket goes there, the rocket's going into space.
Aren't we
If it's
supposedly
below it,
sending
it
stuff
stays
up
below
past the
space.
Kármán line all the time?
What?
Aren't we supposedly sending stuff up past the Kármán line all the time?
Yeah.
All right, so there's nothing special about this.
What's special about a rocket is its capability of reaching beyond the Kármán line.
Well, that's nice,
Yeah,
but
I
we
mean,
know
so-
that
so you're
rockets can be
acknowledging
used to go
space
higher
flight.
than
Okay,
62
Brian,
miles
Brandon.
an hour. That happens all the
No,
time,
I got
right?
you, Brandon. You're acknowledging space flight and orbital objects. I
Well,
got
we
you.
know that the atmosphere gets thinner as the higher we go up. No one has ever denied that you could go 60 or however many miles.
But what about the second law of thermodynamics?
What about it?
Well, you couldn't have that. You couldn't have that pressure gradient with the second law of thermodynamics if there was a dome. So how are you violating the second law of thermodynamics by having a pressure gradient?
Oh, I don't want to get into that argument.
Which you already acknowledged
If
that you
anybody
have.
else
You've already
wants to,
acknowledged
I'm
that
not-
we
I'm
go
not
into
interested.
space, and so I'm fine with that.
It's simple. It's simple, Bob. It's gravity. That's how we get the gradient, mate.
Absolutely, that's why we have the gradient. Gravity.
Gravity in the dome. That's it. There you go. Answered your question. Now move on.
There we
I don't know
go.
what, I'm not sure what gravity is.
That's
I don't know what
bending
gravity
of
is.
space-time.
I don't know what
Bending of
gravity is, but
space-time
we'll use
creates
Nobody
that,
knows.
doesn't it?
What's that, Bob? You say no one knows?
No one knows what gravity is. Yeah. So are you clear on what the Kármán line is now?
Is it just made up, Bob?
Brandon, are you clear on what the Kármán line is?
Hang on, Bob.
Gravity just
I was
made
clear
up, Bob.
before.
How far under the dome is the Kármán line? Now that we've established there's a dome, how far under the dome is the Kármán line?
Okay, so you see that there's an actual point in the atmosphere at which the Kármán line occurs. You see the
And how
actual
far
point.
above that is the dome? How far is the dome above that? Because you've conceded there's a dome with gravity in it. So how far above that is the dome?
So if you go on up there, you'll see the definition of it. Orbital speed, you see that? You know, it's right there in front of you, Brandon. It's okay to say it.
What point do you think you're making? I don't understand.
Well, that the Kármán line is a real thing, and everything beyond the Kármán line is space.
Well, what this says
Both
right
these
here in
rockets
front of
come
me
from
says
space.
the Kármán line is thus an arbitrary definition based on some technical considerations. So obviously I concede that
Read the
since
rest of
planes
it.
require lift, that there would be some point where there wouldn't be enough atmosphere for them to generate enough lift to keep up
Read the rest of it.
their weight. So what's the
No,
big
you
deal?
picked out a sentence in it that is ambiguous.
Yeah,
Read
what do you
the
think-
article.
What do you think I'm arguing against, though?
You're arguing against space and whether or not these two craft went into space.
No, I'm arguing
you
about
agree
what
that
the
they
big
went into
deal is.
space?
I'm pointing out that this is nothing special. You said this was like destroying my paradigm or something.
Okay,
Why
so you have to agree then that space exists because these two went to it.
It
Correct?
depends on your definition of what space is. You have a very different idea of what space is than I do.
Space is everything above the Kármán line.
Okay, fine. Then it went to space if that's the definition.
Very good. So space exists. It went into space.
Yes.
Rockets operate in space,
Space-
right?
Space, literally, the literal
rockets
term
operate in
space exists. Space does exist.
Okay, so
yes.
rockets operate in space. Yes or no?
Well, I mean, it could barely get above the Kármán line, so I guess that's still an open question. And it sure did
Did
lose,
they get above the Kármán line
lose
into
power
space,
when it
or
got
do they
close.
operate?
I
Did they
don't
get
know,
above the
Bob. This one
Kármán
didn't
line
operate in
and
space.
into
This
space?
one, hold on. This one got all its thrust, and then as it neared the Kármán line, it detached right away. So we don't know what the capability is of this rocket above the Kármán line.
Okay, well, it's already above the Kármán line, so it works. Rockets
Well, it
work
had a
above
lot
the
of
Kármán
speed
line.
going up there. It
Rockets
could have just
work in
been
space.
using
End
its
of
speed.
discussion, Brandon.
See, Bob doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
No, that's the end of discussion. Rockets work in space. You've admitted it. We're fine. So not only does space exist, rockets work there. So that's two flat Earth arguments gone. They can see the curve of the Earth from the rear of the rocket, especially on the Virgin Galactic one. So there's
Give
the
me a
curve of
break.
the Earth.
So
That's
first
gone.
of all, you're
Brandon, there's been a big
stretching
push by the
my
ballers
admission that
tonight.
space is a real thing into something that
I asked you if
is
you believed in
ridiculous.
space, if you acknowledged this is space. You said yes, therefore you've acknowledged space.
Do you think that I don't think there's space? How would we live if there was no space? What would that look like?
So you acknowledge that there's space outside of the atmosphere. Gotcha.
The atmosphere gets thinner as we go higher to the point where you wouldn't be able to breathe, or at the Kármán line, as you said, you wouldn't be able
Which
to
is where
generate
space
enough
begins,
lift to
right?
keep an airplane up.
So that's where space begins, and you acknowledge that that is a real
When
thing.
did I
So space
ever
is real.
say that that wasn't the case, though? I mean,
It
that's
is
not
lunar
something we
physics.
argue
What
about.
about that
Bob is
second law of
really-
thermodynamics that
really
says space
desperate
can't exist?
to declare victory on this
have a
for some
pressurized
reason.
system
In
next
the
to
some
a
of the
open
second law of
space, the
thermodynamics
argument
Space
is,
can't
hold on,
exist
guys.
according to you
The
guys.
argument
Is your
is,
argument wrong, or is the second law wrong?
the
Maybe not.
argument is, which I don't really want to get into the details of, that you can't have a pressure system inside of a vacuum without a container. That's the argument.
Yet
That's a
that
lot
rocket
different
just
than you're making it
demonstrates
out
we
to
do.
be. Sorry?
Yet the rocket demonstrates we do. So where's your problem there?
No, it
Now
Now,
just
is your
demonstrate
argument
that,
wrong,
Bob.
or is the second law wrong?
We
Well,
already
it's
went
full of
over this. We
vacuum
said,
beyond.
yes, there
There's
is
nothing.
a pressure gradient. Due to gravity.
Space.
So what's the
Say
problem?
space, Brandon. Say it with me. Space. Next
Bob.
to an atmosphere with pressure in it.
You're not making much sense.
He's having some sort of a win here. Bob thinks he's convincing us all. He's pretty excited.
No, I've already won. I'm just kind of pointing
No,
it
you
out
haven't,
to
Bob.
you. Well, you guys have a great day.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fuck off.
bye.
Didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson say it wasn't space? Didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson want him to go into orbit? That was kind of his thing that he told.
Why did he stop there? Why didn't he keep going?
Yeah. But I'm
That's
very
too
confused about what
global.
he thinks he won.
He won a ticket
Yeah.
to space. Good, 2 for 1 on Monday, the happy hour.
They've had a big push today, Brandon. They're doing this on just about everybody's show. So they've all had a memo, I should think.
Okay.
They realise they're on the back foot now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we were having a pretty good conversation looking at some of this footage, and then all of a sudden, like, that just happened. It's like instantly takes it into
Well, if people
chaos
are more aware of the discussion because of the flights that are taking place with Bezos and stuff, there might be more new people tuning in, and they might be working on making sure that new people tuning in don't like what they hear, or they hear things like an alleged admission by Brandon that space is real, when it's actually like, well, okay, space as in where things exist is real, obviously, because we're here. But outer space, the pretend land, isn't real.
Yeah,
it
the
definitely seems like
heliocentric
they're-
model of space, that was not what we're talking about. So he's playing a semantics game where I say, yes, space is real, and he extrapolate that into endless space as defined by the heliocentric model is real, and that's what I've admitted to. I mean, what kind of a debate tactic is that, Bob?
I think the
Pretty
point
weak,
was that
brother.
you admitted that there is a vacuum next to the atmosphere.
I don't recall hearing him say that.
I didn't hear him say that.
Not even one single time throughout the entire conversation. So if that's what you got, it seems like you're inserting words where they
I
didn't
should have
exist
been
before,
recording.
or weren't said before.
Well, it is
okay,
recording.
it's being recorded. You can go
So
back
excellent.
and listen to
YouTube.
it later.
Oh,
It's
this
being
guy
recorded,
is so
buddy.
bad.
Right, Brandon?
This
It's
is
being
live
recorded.
streamed every day, dude.
All right.
What is wrong with
So
this guy?
there is a recording, and we can certainly go back. Let's do that.
Yeah, do that.
Fantastic.
Rewind your
Whenever you
YouTube,
find
dude.
it, you bring it to us so we can
I
say
will.
that we were wrong.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is that I think what they're doing, these space agencies
won't
that are the
find it.
ones pushing this outer space of, what they claim is their outer space of the vacuum, they're definitely moving into the next phase. I mean, they've been pushing, NASA and all these things for many years, and then obviously the SpaceX, phase, and then now they're moving into this next phase, which is this quote unquote civilian space travel, and trying to get that as a way to prove to people that it's real, and trying to. So they're kind of moving into the next phase of their
Does anyone not find it strangely coincidental that they've been working on it for years, and then they just both happen to go up within a week of one another? I mean, Branson's been working on this since when? 2001 or something?
Yeah.
And blew up in 2014. But these two guys, and who knows, Elon may make a trip up there shortly as well. They just what a wonderful narrative that they both just go up within a week of one another in all of history.
It's
a
how you
script.
get it in people's head is repetition. And that's what they're doing.
That's true,
In
Brian.
TV. They're going to pretend like they were there because they saw it on TV.
Yeah, like you seeing Jeff Bezos when he gets out of that capsule, or even seeing him on the ground, or any point in this video is definitive proof that Jeff Bezos was on that rocket and went up there. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't, because first of all, the point I was trying to make is, what big fucking deal? They shot a rocket up, a capsule came off, and floated down back to the Earth. People parachute all the time. They just went fucking higher.
Yeah.
This is a
They've been doing this
glorified
since the 60s,
carnival
haven't they?
ride. This is something you would pay $200 at the local fucking county fair to get in and go up on a ride.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
just a
except you're going
parabolic
whole
flight. That's
bunch
all
higher.
it is.
You're going a whole bunch higher, Brandon. Whole bunch.
So what?
A whole bunch.
So what? Sure, we've been to the moon, remember? It's not that
To
big
be
a
fair,
deal.
NASA, he did say it's a glorified carnival ride, right? Not just a regular one. So there you go. The glorified takes care of the whole bunch higher part,
What?
right?
Yeah.
So what? I mean, they went into space, yeah, and you guys are
Absolute
saying, "Oh no, just no
nonsense.
big deal." It's like,
Maybe
it's
not.
like he did a. It's like
You
he did
can
what?
make a dildo go that fast without it all
It's
breaking
not
up.
a big deal. That's
It's like
the
he got on the
point.
kiddie ride at the. It's like he got on the kiddie ride at the
Yeah.
grocery store. Put in the
Ridiculous.
It's
nickel.
not a big
Yeah,
deal.
no
You're
big
just
deal.
taking the
Just
piss
a
out of
carnival
You
it.
went
ride.
up
I
a
got
long
you.
way. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's just a carnival
We-
ride. No
we-
big deal.
In the 1960s, we went 250,000 miles. Remember that? 250,000. And you're wetting your
Yeah, but
pants
this is a
because the guy
private-
went 60.
This is a private thing, though. This is not NASA. You guys keep saying
It's
NASA's
not,
fake.
is it
Now we got
really
private
private
people doing
though?
it.
Is it really
Yeah,
private?
private.
Because I think
Yeah,
that
private.
what a $10 billion
hang on.
contract was just
Hang
handed
on.
out to the other one, SpaceX, and they're talking about a $10 billion contract or something like that, some figure. Who knows what they'll land at? For Blue Origin, even though they lost the contest with SpaceX. So is it really?
Wouldn't that make
And that's
NASA?
all you're excited. Hang on, just one sec. All you're excited about, NASA, if you boil down your argument, is where the money came from. Nothing to do with the technology. Nothing to do with how far we went. You are wetting your pants because the money that paid for it came out of some guy's pocket instead of the taxpayer.
Wait a minute, hold
That's
on.
what,
Great
that's
point.
what you're excited about.
You're the ones who complain about NASA. You're
That's
the ones
where
who
the money
complain
came
about NASA.
from.
Now we got someone doing it
50
without NASA's
years
money,
later.
and you guys are saying, "Oh no,
hang
it's
on.
just the same damn
Don't
thing." Oh,
red
yeah.
herring it. Don't red herring it here. Don't be an asshole. Don't red herring it. All you're excited about is that a private guy paid for it. Who cares? 50 years ago, we had technology that went 250,000 miles, and now you're excited because some guy went
really
60
happened?
miles with his own money.
That really happened.
No, no, I'm talking about the stupidity of your argument, my friend.
Did we really go to the moon now? I thought we went moving.
You would claim so. Yeah, you would claim so.
No, I thought that because this is all CGI. Though. I mean, you have to admit this is pretty damn good CGI, though.
You're fumbling here, aren't you? You're really struggling with this. You're struggling.
No,
You've
I'm not
got no
struggling
answer.
at all. I'm just laughing at you guys trying
You're
to.
excited because some guy wrote a check for it.
Chill, you're shit.
I'm laughing at you guys.
The guy
trying
put
to
it on his
kick down
Visa
the
card,
It's pretty funny.
and that excites you.
Hey, just so
pretty
you
funny.
know, just so we have the numbers straight here, this is 0.00024% of the distance that we supposedly went in 1969, and we're supposed to get excited about this. You're calling this going to space?
What
That's
are
like
the
calling, holding hands, or maybe not even holding hands, seeing a girl from across the room, having sex. I mean, you barely even got to the place. You didn't really get to the place. It hit its thrusters,
Got anywhere.
and then it let its head off, and it just passed the Kármán line and floated back down to Earth. You didn't prove shit with this. Let's be real. I mean, hey, good on you guys. If this is real, you engineers who made this happen,
I know.
congratulations.
Actually, it's all
That's
fake, though.
awesome.
It's
But
all
you
fake.
haven't
It's all
done
CGI,
anything
man.
special.
It's all CGI. I know. It's all
It's not,
fake.
yeah, don't straw man us. That's not what we're saying. Don't straw man us. Nobody said that rockets don't go up high. Nobody said it. Nobody said
Not
it.
a big deal. I understand.
It's a straw
No,
man.
no one's-
Phil, you're struggling
no
here. You
one's-
don't have much of an
it's not a
argument, buddy.
big deal.
You're just
Mad
fumbling
Mike
around in the
Hughes.
dark like a 12-year-old on
I
his
just-
first day.
I'm just telling you what your
Mad
argument
Mike
is. You're
Hughes
like, oh, it's
nearly
not a
beat
big
their
deal.
record.
Not a big deal. I got it. Yeah, no big deal.
Shit. Okay, excellent. You've conceded that. Now let's move on.
This is the
Yeah,
part
yeah,
to
it's
me
no big
that
deal.
looks really CGI. And here's what I'm saying. Maybe this isn't CGI,
It's all CGI.
but
What
it
are you
looks
talking about? How can
exactly
you
like
just-
stuff that I know is CGI.
Is that a drone taking that shot? Because you would never fly a drone next to an airfield, would you?
Well, I wouldn't, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it's a drone. Let's say it's a drone. I'm just saying, here's my point. Listen carefully to this, okay? I hate that I said that, but this looks like CGI, meaning things that I've seen that are CGI look like this. So they're really good at CGI. That's my point. One way or the other, whether this is CGI or it's not, the idea that they could fake something with CGI is not far-fetched at all.
Say it, Shield. You know, and say, so what? Say it.
I think it's pretty damn good CGI. I mean, this whole thing is CGI. The moon landing was CGI. This is CGI. I mean, how do we know that? I mean, this is obviously a big conspiracy between what?
The moon landing. No, sure. Hang on. The moon landing wasn't CGI. The moon landing was a soundstage. There was a soundstage. That wasn't CGI. That was just really bad, filmography.
I'm sorry.
Front projection, and they pulled every trick that they knew back then. You know, they've been making movies of fake stuff. They've been using trickery and all that stuff for who knows how long. Ever since the advent of photography, I imagine, to make things look like something they're not.
Definitely.
There's a whole city of people here in the United States who have devoted their lives to doing just that, and many more around the country and around the world. Other pockets of cities full of people who do that.
Oh, it's a good thing we got our special effects better these days, so we can.
I bet. I wonder what kind of movies we would have if the same people were making Avengers movies instead of working on some of the bullshit you guys got them working on. Probably be pretty cool.
That was a quote, a drone, by the way.
Was a drone, yeah. It's an impressive shot. If it's real, I'm just saying it looks like CGI.
But what makes it look like CGI?
So how did they?
Looking at it.
Take out all the people that are watching it live.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they didn't send a rocket up. I'm really not.
This thing happen live.
I'm not saying it's CGI. That's why I said listen carefully, because I knew somebody would twist what I said.
They're all chilled.
You got a few $1 million in a rocket. You got 4 human beings on board, and you fly a drone right next to it.
Yeah.
What's
the problem with
Work it
that?
out yourself. Complete nonsense.
Why is it nonsense?
How
Anyway.
you lot fucking get brainwashed to believe that shit? I honestly, it's just like watching Thunderbirds from the 70s.
Okay.
Pigs in
Look,
space.
If we were talking about aircraft propellers and turbines, yeah, a small aircraft flying close by wouldn't be a good idea. But we're not talking about
Thunderbirds.
Aircraft with what?
Thunderbirds.
Oh, yeah.
Thunderbird 3 was more
a good one,
aerodynamic than that fucking dildo was.
Back at it again with a dildo.
Hey, look at this picture here. You guys, they took it to a carnival or something, literally, to show off the crew cabin in this thing. Check this out, man. I mean, it looks like a glorified amusement park ride. And it's at a carnival
you can
even.
Watch one.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
What should it look like then?
No, I'm just pointing out that it looks like one. That's all.
Is that the bar in the middle?
I mean, just go watch one.
I mean, they just sit in there, they strap you in, they put you on top of a rocket, shoot you up, it detaches, and you float down.
Yeah, it's got to look like NASA in the 1960s, you know. It doesn't look.
Right.
It doesn't look.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, this is basically what it is—a glorified amusement park ride. I mean, it's just more expensive and it goes a lot higher and a lot faster. To be fair, that's the only point of this aircraft. It's just to take people up there to have fun. I mean, nothing really, no research necessarily, you know, that being done. It's just for fun. So yeah, to be fair, I mean, that's basically what it is—a glorified amusement park ride.
It is right.
Why wouldn't you just use a helium balloon?
It is fantasy.
Just not as fast. Doesn't go up as fast.
Well, it goes fast. Yeah, this goes really fast, supposedly, you know, 2,000 miles an hour. And I'm not saying it doesn't. Yeah. It'd be a hell of a ride. I wouldn't do it just because it's too dangerous and I got a family to take care of, because one of these times, something's probably going to go wrong with this fucking thing, and it's going to blow up.
Brandon, just look at all the windows. Would that not compromise the structural capabilities of the thing, having all them fucking windows in it?
I mean, you can just go watch it.
Just
I mean, we know that it works.
Rubber seal.
Like somebody that's coming from orbit, so yeah, it wouldn't.
And it's going faster than the Blackbird.
So what?
Yeah,
No, it's not.
The nose of it is like pushing a barn door through the air. It's fucking ludicrous.
That's because it's a suborbital craft.
Because it's fucking make-believe.
Yeah,
It's
right.
nonsense.
I thought it was CGI. So is it make-believe or CGI?
Fucking rubbish.
You can just go watch it if you don't believe it. I mean,
Well, no, you see that
it's
must be-
real easy to solve.
But,
Yeah.
but if you watch it, you're in
It
some sort
is
of mass
fucking
hysteria thing, right?
nonsense.
Yeah, I know.
Are they
Oh,
projecting the images into your
utter
brain if you go to the site and watch it?
nonsense.
Well, no, obviously you're being fake somehow if you watch it. I guess they haven't
There's
gotten
just
over
too
that.
much suspicious stuff. It's got windows.
I don't really think the Flurf Daddies have come up with an excuse on how they faked it if you actually watched it yet.
There's
It's
nothing
supposed to
coherent
do
going on.
2,500 fucking miles an hour.
Yeah.
Look at the shape of the Blackbird, for fuck's sake, and that goes slower than that.
That was an airplane.
It's fucking nonsense.
This is not an airplane.
That
Look-
thing
Shut
would
up,
break up. I would say not
Apparently
much over
not.
100
You can just
miles
go
an
watch
hour.
it,
I mean,
dude.
the Blackbird was
That
going.
thing would
the
fall
bu-
to fucking
The
bits.
Blackbird was going at the speed much lower than this was going at this top speed.
It's still got to get up there.
Yeah, but you
It's
don't
fucking
understand
There's a
aerodynamics.
really basic way to solve it, and it's just go watch the fucking.
Tell us about the aerodynamics.
Yeah, you don't know anything about aerodynamics.
Shut up, Shield. You talk and don't say
You don't know
nothing.
anything about aerodynamics.
Well, teach us.
Oh, teach you? No, I can't teach you aerodynamics. You're too dumb. I'm sorry.
I don't know anything about aerodynamics, but I know
Well,
that you can just go
obviously-
fucking watch it.
Obviously, Mabbott doesn't know anything about aerodynamics too. He just compared it to the Blackbird.
well, the Blackbird does
Yeah.
go the same speed as this thing, according to that
Much
video
lower.
and this article on the
Significantly
Blackbird.
lower.
No,
Significantly
not.
lower.
For lower and
How
longer.
fast does the Blackbird go, Shell?
It's like
Mach 3.
Mach 3.5 or something.
Yeah,
was
so that's like 2,300 miles an hour.
Yep.
That's how fast
what
that rocket was
altitude?
going.
At what altitude?
Hang on.
80,000
what
feet.
altitude?
Right. And how high did
And
these
how
guys
much
go?
atmosphere is there at 80,000 feet? Let's get down to it. How much atmosphere is there at 80,000 feet? What percentage of ground level atmosphere? It's like 1 or 2%, isn't it?
You
Or
could not
hardly
push
anything.
that dildo that fast in Earth's atmosphere. I don't even think it'd go much
what's-
over 100
Are
miles
you
an hour
aware
without
that the
falling
higher
to
you
pieces.
How much
go, the
atmosphere is there at
less
It's
80,000 feet?
fucking lunacy.
Are you aware that the higher you go, the less atmosphere you have?
You couldn't get
How
the
much is there at
cunt
80,000 feet,
twat.
Shield, you know?
Yes, you can.
No,
it-
you
I have a
fucking
question.
wouldn't.
Oh, it says
It's fucking
Brian
lunacy.
Mabbott,
All right, Brian.
aerodynamicist.
The bloke's a fucking moron.
Says Brian Mabbott,
Lordy.
who not
See how
only
fast you
who
can
not
run
only
with
is
a
an
barn
expert,
door in your
is
hand.
not only an expert
You
in
fucking
cars, but is apparently an
twat.
expert in aerodynamics.
And what are
And
you an
dildos.
expert in?
It's not going faster than a bullet.
Look at the shape of the fucking Blackbird compared to that. And you can see proper engineers have designed the Blackbird because they know the stresses and strains it will go through. They've just come up with something out their fucking ass. Yeah, probably a dildo out their ass.
Dildo. I'm gonna make him, on parrots gotta say
Fucking
dildo.
nonsense.
Dildo.
Hold on a second. When does a bullet start
Complete
going and never come back?
Yeah.
Hello?
What's that? What's your question?
When does a bullet go in space and never come back? Or get in orbit or be like an ISS? When does the
No idea.
They
Why is
don't.
it so hard to find air pressure by altitude? I don't understand that.
I'm just saying what we see with the bullet
Yeah, I'm trying to find it as well, Brandon.
is resistance and what happens to a bullet. So what happens with the rocket? Something different.
A lot more thrust.
Yeah, a lot. It's really different, actually.
Really different.
Them undercuts
Oh,
under
God,
the bell
more
end
thrust.
would cause so many vortexes, it would rip the fucking thing to pieces.
I mean, you can just go watch the launch. If you really think that it's impossible, just
I
go watch the
don't
launch.
give a fuck.
Well,
It is
we can
fake.
go
course
watch
not.
the launch of hot
If
air
you go
balloons.
see
That
it,
doesn't
are
mean
you
it
still
went
going to say
to
it's fake then, or what?
It must be
Fucking
fake. Got it.
nonsense.
Got it, Brian. Your incredulity is noted. It's fake because Brian says so.
If we
It
watch
is
hot air
fucking
balloons
fake.
go up into the sky,
Anybody
we
with
won't
any fucking common
believe
sense
that they
can
went to
see it's
space either.
nonsense.
It's not common
What's
sense.
the
It's something that you made
material
up.
Brian, I'm not convinced it's completely fake. What makes you think that the whole thing is
Maybe
fake?
not.
Have you seen the design of it? Just look at the fucking design. The nose cone has got to go through 2,400 fucking miles an hour. It's
Yeah,
lunacy.
I do have my doubts
Absolute
that that thing is going as fast as
lunacy.
they say it's going. I will agree with you,
You
but
know
I'm
when
sure we
you've
could.
seen it. You know when you've seen it on the video, that it looked like it went through the sound barrier. I think that's when it did hit 600 miles an hour, maybe. But no way could it ever fucking touch fucking Mach 3. Absolute
How fast is
lunacy.
the boat going?
I kind of thought
Is
the
it
same
because
thing,
of
to
the-
be
is it
honest with you.
because of- Is that because of the air resistance, Matt? Brian?
No, I just want to know what Brian bases his facts.
Nonsense.
He doesn't
He's
base
talking
it.
about
I want to
facts and
understand why.
How
why
many
would-
sick
Oh,
cunts,
God.
if they are genuine and they fell for this, I really do feel for them. But I believe
Brian.
they're all here to push this fucking nonsense upon
Are
us.
are you just basing this off of your knowledge and expertise in dildos?
Common sense
Common sense.
tells you that things could not reach the fucking speeds that they
Brian.
say it reaches.
Gotcha.
Brian, is that because of their air resistance? Is that why it would keep it from reaching that speed?
It couldn't get there in the first place.
Couldn't get where?
Into thinner air. Because it would
Why not?
rip to
Why is it
fucking
shaped like
pieces.
that? Why would rip it into pieces? What would rip it into pieces?
Who would ever build a fucking
What would rip
Mach
the crap
3
into
vehicle
pieces? Brian,
that's got
Brian,
undercuts
yes,
on the
yes.
nose
A guy
cone
named a billionaire
to
named Jeff
create
Bezos did it.
vortexes
Well,
that
Brian,
will
he
rip
paid
the
people
rest
to
of
do it.
the
Let's not give
fucking
Bezos too
Let's
much
go
craft
credit.
to
step to step
pieces
here.
is completely off their trolley.
Yo,
All right,
okay.
all right,
doesn't-
all right. Well,
It
let's
doesn't look, it's not pointed enough for him. It doesn't look
Let's,
enough like
let's,
rockets in the 50s.
Just go watch one. I mean, it's real easy to solve.
yeah. So I think
Shut
that
up,
that's
Billy.
true. That we could just go watch one, maybe, if we could, get there, right?
I mean, you
If
go,
they-
you
if
show
they let
up and
the
they don't
public
do the
close
launch
enough.
and they broadcast the launch anyway, you'll have a big story.
Where are they
Yeah, I don't think
broadcasting
there's
now?
anything. I think that's a fair comment. That if we doubt it, to go watch it. That's why I say I'm not convinced that it's totally fake, Brian. But I will tell you, I do have my reservations that this thing's actually going 2,200 miles an hour. And I've watched that 5 or 6 times now. It does look like breaking the sound barrier.
Well, we've got an aerodynamicist that does our body kits for us. I'm going to fucking ask him what he thinks about it.
You're going to get a car designer.
He's
to
got all the
gotcha.
modeling. Shut up.
Yeah,
Shut up. The modeling.
Yeah,
He
you're
can
going
put
to
it
get a
through all
car
the...
designer about a rocket. Good. Yeah.
No, it's just
Hey,
aerodynamics.
No, not only aerodynamics, but also we're talking about structural engineering. But I just want to know, Brian, you keep saying that they would rip apart into pieces. What's going to rip that craft into pieces? I don't understand what you're saying.
The vortexes that would be caused from the undercut of the bell end on the top. I don't know what speeds, but way below what they fucking said, would rip the rest of the craft to pieces.
Okay, what if it's in a near vacuum?
It's got to get to the fucking near vacuum first.
But it can
And
do
it
that
wouldn't.
slower. It's accelerating the whole time.
Nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense. And you lot are thick cunts if you believe it.
Okay. You're just mad. All right.
There's
All right, anyway.
I'm mad because you are intelligent people and you're letting people like this fucking brainwash you into believing nonsense like this can take place.
There's
If
no.
you don't want to be
That's why I'm
brainwashed,
mad.
just go watch it.
You're just angry, bro.
Because it
What am I
fits
supposed to be
your
watching?
fucking... I was going to say something then. Your perverted way of looking at things, this fits into it. You believe it hook, line, and sinker. It is nonsense.
All right.
Any
Noted.
aerodynamicist would rip this to fucking pieces.
All
In a
right.
vacuum
Well,
chamber, how
let's
much
see if
faster-
see what he says, Brian, and let us know. But
Yeah, I'll get Lee to get hold of him and
Get on it.
send him the
Be
dimensions.
sure whatever he says, Brian. Don't
He
yell
might
at
be
him.
able to run it through a simulator.
Hello?
See
All
what
In
right.
a
it can do.
vacuum chamber, how much more faster can a toy rocket go than in the atmosphere?
I just
No
want
idea.
Brandon, I found that atmospheric pressure thing that we were talking about earlier.
You did.
So
Okay.
at sea level, there's one atmosphere, as we know. At 70,000 feet, we're talking about the Blackbird, remember? At 70,000 feet, now Shill said it flies at 80,000, but I'll go 70,000 just to pull it down. Oh, hang on. Well, this is meters. So we're 20,000 meters.
That's how you design a craft to go over.
20,000 meters. We're at 0.1 of an atmosphere. So if you think that Blackbird is only 0.1 better than the Bell End rocket, or however you want to equate those two things, like it's a tenth of the atmosphere, that it needs to be designed like the Blackbird to cut through it at a tenth, 1/10 of ground level.
A tenth of an atmosphere, and it does it for a long time versus virtually no atmosphere.
Yeah, the Blackbird glides on the air. The rocket doesn't.
It's got to go through the air.
It doesn't matter if it's going vertical or sideways. It's still pushing through the air.
2,500 miles an hour.
Like it's still pushing through the air. It has to push through the air, for God's sake.
Yeah, but he can do that at a
Gotta
slower
get there.
speed and accelerate. It also only has to do it for a little while.
Fucking nonsense.
Where's the toy
Yeah,
rocket?
but the
when it lies?
Blackbird not only pushing through the air, it's interacting with the air to stay at its level. Yes?
Where's the toy
There's
rocket?
much more drag on the Blackbird.
You need a toy rocket in a vacuum going way faster than it is on the outside of the vacuum. So you need a big old vacuum chamber, and you need a little toy rocket. And that same toy rocket, you need like a bunch of the same little toy rockets that are identical, and test them inside and outside of a said vacuum with different atmospheres and different pressures and different resistances. And then you'll actually see what you're trying to talk about.
Would like to do something like that. And actually, George and I talked about looking into getting the use of a big vacuum chamber at Martin Marietta. I think that's what it's called these days. But we never followed up on it because we couldn't agree on what kind of a demonstration we wanted to do. What would be
all you need is
necessary.
a tube, a long tube, and a pump to pump the air out. I mean,
No, it's got to be, because it depends on how you're creating the thrust. If it's in a long tube and you use some kind of fuel, it's going to create gas immediately, fill up the chamber. We're concerned about
it's
that.
going to be a
or
little bit of
possibly
or
couldn't
bottle
rule out
rocket. Yeah, use like little bottle rockets and make it a thick chamber, a big one.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
a big chamber, big, way rounder than a little object.
Anyway, I'm gonna change the subject from the New Shepherd to a video I saw about the sun, or I guess it's about the map, the new standard of the world map, and it's from Flat Out Truth, Terry. There was a couple interesting things he pointed out in here. There's 2 paragraphs on the bottom of this map. What is this map called again? I can't remember the name off the top of my head. You know, the one that says on the projection of modern college and Gleason's. Sorry. Couldn't remember the name. Anyway, you guys are familiar with the Gleason's map, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure if you're covering up something else or not.
Yeah, I was just having a brain freeze. But yeah, so the Gleason's map, this one, for those of you who aren't familiar on it, it has 2 paragraphs at the bottom of it. And he was reading those, and I realized I'd never actually read what these paragraphs said. and I thought it was pretty interesting. The one on the left for the June solstice, which is obviously when the sun is on a flat Earth model, would be closest to the center of the Earth, closest to the North Pole. Says in the figures June and December, the white represents the sun's position in the respective months at noon. So let me just get back to that image. What he's talking about is this. So this white area right here, the thing that looks like a bubble inside this orange, is what he's referring to. So in the figures, June and December, the white represents the sun's position in his respective months at noon. This shows sunlight inside the Arctic Circle for 24 hours. From June 21st, the sun moves around the tropics in a spiral circle, widening every day until it reaches its destiny on the southern or outer solstice on December 21st. I found that wording very interesting because I understood that Gleason's was not making a flat Earth map, that this is was a projection. Anybody else have the same understanding or a different one? The way let me read the other one and then we can talk about it. December solstice. On December 21st, the sun moves around the Tropic of Capricorn, and during the day, lights up the southern portion of the Earth from the Arctic Circle to some portion of Antarctic ice. There is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice. On the 23rd of December, the sun commences his northward journey again, returning to his starting place, and thus completes his seasons. You guys ever read this?
No.
I have.
Yeah, Wissett talks about this all the time.
Oh, does he?
Keeping the Gleason. He goes, actually look at it and read it.
So that elementary school, university school, and secondary school kids could understand the seasons and how they worked. That was Gleason's main objective there, to project the world as it really is.
Right. You know, I don't know much about this Gleason's guy, and I didn't have a chance to look it up. But does anybody know the history or the origin of this Gleason's map? I just find it interesting the way he's describing it. It sounds to me like he is talking about the sun moving back and forth.
Gleason, he wrote a book about his formulation of the map. And it looks like he was a Christian, I want to say Seventh-day Adventist. And basically he was trying to make a map that was flat, it appears. And it appears to be very similar to the AE map with the North Pole in the center and the continents radiating out. And I guess the sun would circle overhead.
Okay, so he was a flat earther.
No, but it's still distortion.
Now, the way that they try to get his map is they try to say that his map is a projection of the globe. But in his book, he talks about the Bible and stuff like that, which appears to, imply that he's a flat earther, since the Bible appears to present somewhat of a flat cosmology at the very least.
Interesting.
But it looks like, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty accurate. The accuracy of any map is going to vary because of several factors. More than likely because at sea you can't get a straight line, and you would have to depend on the stars and assume what they're doing in the sky when you can see them and when you can't see them. Since they come back to the same position more or less in the sky, one would assume that they're circling overhead, which would be the only motion that would allow something to return to where it was before within a periodic time frame. So we'd have to assume that the sun is circling over the land, probably around the central North Pole based off of where the compasses are pointing. And since all continents have a northern and southern portion, pie-shaped schema, with land radiating out from the north would be very justified.
Or maybe the Earth spinning.
What was that?
I didn't catch that either.
They said, or it,
Somebody said something about the Earth spinning.
or
Earth
it may be
doesn't
the Earth
move.
spinning, is what I heard.
Earth spinning.
The Earth doesn't move, and the tokens that they use to say that the Earth moves could also be used for a flat Earth with at best space, aka the ether, aka the sun, moon, and stars, aka not the Earth, is moving over the Earth, which does not move.
Is that
Is
a base assumption that it doesn't move, or is that a falsifiable observation, or how is that?
That's
You
just
can go outside and do it yourself.
Based off of our senses, we feel no movement when we can feel movement in a car and other bodies. Therefore, the Earth most likely is not moving based off of prima facie evidence.
Dude, is this 2015?
So
Why
is
y'all keep
that
talking about
falsifiable
movement?
or no?
We could falsify it with a framework in which the Earth is moving through a substance, aka the ether. But the moment the ether drift speeds were returning speeds too low for the Earth to be moving 66,000 miles per hour around the sun back in the early 1900s, they dumped the ether and assumed that the Earth was moving through a vacuum nothing. So they basically junked the only framework by which we could prove movement. So now there is no framework by which we can prove that we're moving at all. Not until.
And why do
we're
you know
moving
that there's an ether?
You can know earthquakes.
Well, the thing is, that's the framework. The only thing is, that's the framework by which we can prove whether or not we're moving. We have to be moving through a substance that is the final arbiter that gives us a
Why is that?
that we can tell. Otherwise, there's no framework for movement. How do you prove that we're moving
Yes, there
otherwise?
An earthquake moves the
If you're
dirt under your feet. And then when there's not an earthquake, the earth's sitting still. So you can feel when the earth moves. When it's not moving, you don't feel any earthquakes. Case closed.
Well, another thing that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we prove that we're moving if we're not moving through a substance? How do you tell that you're moving in a car when the windows are down and the scenery's passing by? You could be moving and or the scenery passing by could be moving until you put out your hand and feel the wind against your hand. Put out your hand from the window and feel the wind against your hand. Ether.
But you can tell if you're spinning.
How?
Because you
We're
put the
getting some
gyroscope
background
mounted on
noise
the
from
surface to
someone,
see
like
whether
some
it's
TV
spinning.
on in the
And if
background
the
or
gyroscope starts rotating, then you know that the thing it's mounted on is rotating because the gyroscope won't rotate.
You know that your toy started doing something. Whoop-de-doo.
So that can be explained
if
with
you
the
don't want to use
ether moving
reasoning,
over the unmoving Earth.
Jin, your microphone's open, brother. I don't know if you were trying to talk, but if you were, you were way too low
Maybe
for us
not.
to hear.
So that can be explained by a relativity saying that either we're moving and or the space over the Earth is moving. The space over the Earth, the ether, whatever appears to be moving based off of Aries failure, where it appears that they didn't have to tip that water-filled telescope anymore to get the starlight. They would have had to tip the telescope filled with water more to get the starlight to come in at the right angle if the Earth was moving. They did not have to tip it. Therefore, the light was already coming in at the right angle on an unmoving Earth.
You got it all wrong. They would have to tip it if there was ether.
Irrelevant. And how do you test
It
for
is. That's what they are testing for.
The ether was the unquestioned framework that they worked in. It was not a substance that they tried to test or verify. They only dropped the ether when they were getting ether drift speeds that were too low to go with a moving Earth going around the sun 30 kilometers per second, which translates to 66,000 miles per hour around the sun.
No, you just mentioned they tested if they need to tip or don't need to tip the telescope, and they didn't need to tip because there is no ether.
The framework of the ether was accepted unquestioningly. You do not test a framework. Either you accept it or reject it like they did when it's not consistent with the evidence that you would like it to present, namely 30 kilometers per second of ether drift around the sun, assuming we're moving. We're not moving. We're getting 5 to 8 kilometers per second of ether drift, if that, but
They
we're
didn't
not
measure
moving.
no speed.
So they junked the ether and called it space-time. But conceptually, they returned to it over and over again, giving space properties and endowing it with energy, substance, even a slight degree of physicality. So space is moving over the unmoving Earth.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
That's what your gyro is registering. And that is what appears to be going on with that gyro business with Bob Nodell and other people. The ether, not the Earth, appears to be moving.
So it's unfalsifiable.
Unfalsifiable? How do you falsify a framework? You either get a better framework or you show inconsistencies in the framework. When they were unable to get the 30 kilometers per second of ether drift, it wasn't that the ether didn't exist. It's just that we're not moving through it. We're at rest in the ether while the ether swirls over and around us.
But we know that we're moving, so since we didn't register an
Who
ether
knows?
drift, we
Yeah,
know
what
there's
are
no
you
ether.
talking about? We know what we're moving. I'm observably at rest right now.
Go outside. Do you have access to the outside? Can you go from inside to outside?
Rockets can.
No, I mean you. Go stand outside.
Oh, yeah.
And at what point do you get dizzy or you tilt or your hat blows off your head or when does that happen?
It doesn't happen.
There you go. Doesn't happen.
Yeah, it just seems like a gap in math and physics.
So that's the evidence of your sense. Now we can let the priests of scientism tell us that we're moving despite not feeling that we're moving, or we can challenge them and say, you know what, I don't think we're moving. I think
Well, you
we're...
need to have a kind of a grasp on the basics first, I guess.
Oh,
You don't need to
God.
have a grasp of the basics.
Are you saying that we need to accept the indoctrination first and then we'll understand?
No, that is absolutely not what I'm saying.
Are you sure? Because it seems like maybe that's what you're saying.
Nope.
Let's give him a chance to flesh out whatever he's saying. What are you saying then?
Like you could get an understanding of like math and conservation of momentum and basic experimentally determined physical principles, and then it wouldn't be really a great mystery that an Earth that's rotating at once every 24 hours, you don't get dizzy on it. You know,
So
that
he's
isn't
saying
really a
nothing.
prediction that we would expect to find.
I'll
Oh,
paraphrase. He said nothing.
you don't understand how math works. That's the problem.
He's saying
Exactly.
math,
Exactly.
therefore we're
If
not
I
moving.
knew how math works, I would feel movement. I got it.
No,
I didn't know that.
So Lemon, I feel a slight breeze now. Am I moving?
You
No,
said that
with
you can
moving
tell it's
against you.
moving. You can tell how it's moving because it's not.
No,
You
and,
can-
honestly,
not
if your
because
goal
you're
is
not-
not to understand math, then you will succeed.
That's not really an
Well,
argument.
the-
You're not telling us anything. You're just
No,
like,
maybe he misunderstood what I was saying. I'm saying you don't understand math because you can attempt to change the motion of the Earth to one rotation per day. It would still literally be 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, no matter how big
So
the
what?
Earth is.
So what?
1,000 miles per hour is something that we can feel in literally every instance of our lives. So
No,
until
it's
you can
not.
demonstrate not feeling 1,000 miles
See,
per
you don't
hour,
understand.
your
That's
argument
the
is
gap.
garbage.
So we
Okay,
can feel,
well, then go ahead and demonstrate it.
we can
Demonstrate
feel
not being
miles
able
per
to
hour.
feel 1,000 miles per hour right now.
We can feel
What?
20
You're
miles
doing
per
it.
hour in a car, but we can't feel 1,000 miles at the equator. That's
You
kind
can't
of...
feel constant motion in a car. You can feel
Okay.
bumps.
You said
You can feel
you're doing it
turns.
right now, right? That was what you said. You're doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is
Okay,
exactly what we would expect
fantastic,
it to feel.
fantastic. If that's the standard of evidence, then all I have to say is you're not doing it right now, and I have just as much evidence as you. If that's going to be your standard,
Honestly, it just kind of goes back to having a good basis of knowledge of math.
right? If you accept the indoctrination, then you'll understand.
It's
right.
not indoctrination.
Like I
you
said.
get to work the proofs
Well,
yourself.
I mean,
you get to
it
do
very
practice
obviously is.
problems. You get to learn. It's not
You're
like you're
saying
memorizing
ignore
words
everything
for
you
a foreign
experience in your
language.
life and just listen to what someone tells you. That's what you're saying. That would be indoctrination.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, just so you
It would
guys
be.
know
No,
who you're
it's
talking
really
to
not.
here.
Absolutely is.
This is a dude who said the teeth event was a complete delusion. It never happened. I linked him to the text chat where it happened, and he told me to go see a doctor. It's not there. He can't find it. No one had ever said anything about my teeth or GoFundMe. This is the type of person
You were telling me there was some sort of bounty out for your teeth.
Yeah, and after LinkedIn and I showed you the text, you still didn't understand it. This is the type of person you're dealing with right now. He will deny anything you present him. Anything at all. Even if you show him a text chat log, he'll pretend like it doesn't exist.
As always, it has to be about Crit.
Is Crit crying again?
No, I'm just letting you know that when you got someone who's willing to deny all evidence, but then say you're the one denying the evidence.
Yeah, sounds like you're crying to me.
Just letting you know that there's nothing you guys can say that will be taken as evidence.
Have a good night, Crit.
So anyway, what is this evidence that we're moving? Obviously moving.
We're not
from
moving.
Lemon, I
We're
got
not.
that if I film then I'm
moving. You can tell how fast
I gave
we're
it to
moving
you
because
and
we're
you
not.
didn't like it, so it's kind of we're at an impasse.
What was it though?
No,
you just said we don't understand
gyroscope.
math. That's all you said.
The gyroscope, and you said that we would notice it, and I said, well, if you understand math, then you would understand that it just really shouldn't be something that we kind of notice in our day-to-day lives. And that was kind of disputed, and so I'm done. I have nothing else.
Well, the thing is, we're not going at a constant motion. A constant motion would be a straight line. It would not be
and the
a
acceleration
revolution.
is tiny.
And so
The
we would
acceleration
feel
is
every
fucking
jerk and every, rotation around the sun, around the great attractor,
I mean, you can
around the
calculate
galaxy, all that.
the acceleration. It's tiny.
Hey, Lemon, how many newtons of force should we experience given the globe Earth size of the Earth and the size and speed of its revolution around the sun? How many newtons should we experience?
I don't know.
Make us a little one and we'll
Maybe
tell
if
you.
you figure that out, that would be something to do.
Okay, tell me, how many?
No, you do that.
I already told you I don't know. Are you asking me a question when you don't know that yourself?
No, I'm reluctant to answer because you'll just go, nuh-uh.
You need the globe math. We don't.
So anyway, with the huge mass of the Earth revolving through space, one would expect to feel the momentum changes this way and that way, since we are not going at a constant acceleration because of rotation. That would be the expectation.
Okay, so the globe claim is that acceleration due to rotation is not something that the human body can feel.
Why? What threshold would we feel it at then?
Prove it.
Well, yeah, Ruhif, go ahead.
At that point, it's just small mathematical numbers and begging the question if there's no threshold and no sort of guide for how much we do or do not feel.
Well, one of the things I find interesting about the idea of feeling motion is the vestibular system in the inner ear works with a liquid, and that liquid needs to be level. And when that liquid is level is when we feel as a human that we're level, meaning we're standing, up is up, down is down. We know that we're standing and walking. It requires that level water in the ear. And if that level water is tilted to the left or the right, or you're flipped upside down, the little hairs and the nerves in the actual inner ear can detect that water is no longer level, and then we will feel the motion of the movement.
What is it that they detect? What kind of motion? What kind of motion does the vestibular system detect? What kind of motion?
Any motion.
No.
The hell do you mean? What kind of motion?
Any and all motion. It's just like if you have liquid in a cup and you move it, any motion is going to cause that liquid to be displaced.
That's false.
What? Show us that, Brenda.
You don't get dizzy from driving in a car, do you? Right?
Present your lie.
Your head sideways to go around a
Your
turn.
drink doesn't spill in your cup holder while you're driving down the highway.
Brenda, show us that with a clear glass. please.
Well,
Let's
yes, offered a real alternative, so this is very easily dismissible. Most of the time, we do feel movement and changes in acceleration, and a revolution is a constant change in acceleration.
Yes, it
therefore,
is.
it would
That is
logically
correct.
be
So,
felt.
Lemon is correct. Revolution is a constant change in motion. It is an acceleration. The question is, how much can the human body feel?
Yeah,
No, it's
you don't
possibly a
know, and
planet
neither do we.
I
So we
do
can't make
know.
claims about this.
I do know, but you'll
But
just
you're not
go.
saying it, so you're not adding to the conversation. So
Right,
dismissed.
because you will just go, nuh-uh. I want you to look up the information for yourself.
Well, we'll never know since you're not telling us, so we're gonna have to move on.
So you have just not interested. You're just not interested in finding out.
put on it and have the cup of liquid sit still and not show vibration of any kind. Go, Brenda. Go, Brenda. Go.
That's
I believe.
easy to do. Easy to do. 600 mile an hour bullet train, a glass of water sitting on the sill. It is perfectly still and motionless, isn't it? Even though it's going 600 miles an hour.
Environment of a train, unless you're saying that the Earth is firmamentally contained like the train that
Is it moving? Is it moving?
It's contained. We need
Is
to
it
focus on
moving?
the fact that the train is contained and the Earth is not.
You said the human body can detect all motion. I just proved that it can't.
That's false. It's the motion by going to the back of the train into the front of the train.
All motion. You said all motion.
You didn't sit it anywhere. You didn't show us the liquid stayed still with the line on the clear cup. Get a line on the clear container. Take it to your train. Sit it down, and then we'll watch it live.
Right. Get on an air flight, and you're traveling in mid-flight. You're traveling what? I don't know, 600, 500 miles an hour. Put a glass of water. Put a glass of water on your tray, and the water in that tray will be perfectly level.
No, it won't, retard.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
What are you talking about? So
I'm
when you're
talking about
you're on the ground in your plane and you got
not
your
in the ground, in air, in the air, not on the ground.
Where are you
not
at
on the ground? Not on the ground, in the air.
Not on the ground.
Not on the ground, in the air, traveling 400 miles an hour.
You guys, she's in the air. All right, Brenda.
In the air, traveling 400 miles an hour. Put a glass of water on your tray. The water will be level.
Brenda, you're retarded.
Brenda,
You know
the thing is,
what-
that's
Are
a
you denying
contained
that, Demo?
system. The Earth is not like that, so your analogy.
You said you can detect all motion. You said all motion.
You can even detect it in that train by going to the front or to the back. You can tell the difference in the motion by going to the back of the train versus the front of the train.
Yeah,
Going
you
to the
want
back
to
of the train will be easier than going to the front.
You want to take it back? Do you want to take it back?
It will take less energy to go to the back
You
of
wanna
the train
take it
since the
back
back
or
of the
not?
train is coming to you. Mark this noted.
Do you want to take it back or
It
not?
is slight,
You
but
have to
noticeable.
understand physics, Lemon. It will not take. It will not require any greater energy to walk to the back of a train or the front of a train that's moving along 200 miles an hour. If you think so, you're basically a physics denier and reality denier.
That is like going
No
on a
point in talking to you. You do not understand basic physics.
Take your gallon jug of liquid with you and let's see.
So you are claiming, let's get this right, Demak, you are claiming you're going to reiterate what the idiot Lemon just said. Then you believe it takes more effort to go to the back of a train than the front of a train carrying something. Is that correct?
If the train is moving forward,
Hold on, I was asking
less
Demak,
effort
and just
to
yeah,
move
you
to
can
the
get a
back
second.
and more effort to move to the
I was
front
asking
as it is
Demak that
moving away
question,
from
Lemon.
you.
I was asking Demak that question. Demak,
Oh,
so
Demak.
are you reiterating Lemon Bird's position that it will take more energy to go to the back of the train than the front of the train, even on a moving train, say going at 200 miles an hour?
More
Is
to
that
the
your
front
position?
than the back.
Stop talking, Lemon, for 1 fucking millionth of a second, buddy. Take a breath. I said, my name's Demak. I said, when you take a cup of liquid or a gallon of liquid on your fucking airplane live with the black marker to show us the level line where the liquid is level at, sitting still at rest, and then take it on your plane. And when we notice no movement from start to finish, I'll kiss your ass.
No, the point is, it's traveling at an even speed of whatever air flight is. And in mid-flight, the water will be level.
What is turbulence? Water is not going to be level.
Okay, wait, can I say something real quickly? Because I just traveled on a plane clear to England for how long? And it was an 8-hour flight. Okay? It's not even for an hour your water's going to stay level because there's constant feeling of movement in that plane of some sort. And it doesn't take this turbulence. Just
What kind of movement? What kind of movement?
It could be many movements. And sometimes the plane can just
What
feel
kind
the
in
same
particular?
thing, but you're still feeling you can feel the movement of the engine, but all it takes is a little turbulence
A
or
bump?
something.
Right. A change in direction, which is called acceleration.
Yeah.
You
Well,
don't
technically,
feel it.
everything's
You
vibrating,
don't
so
feel it.
everything's
what we're allegedly
accelerating at all
doing around
times
the sun
anyway.
is basically
So
all
this is
times.
irrelevant. The thing is, you can tell when you move
Right.
into the front or the
It's
back,
kind of baby
like on a
stuff.
bus, on a
You got
conveyor belt,
alleged
and even on a
acceleration
train. This is
then.
ridiculous.
Unbelievable. You know less about physics than a 12-year-old. If you think that moving towards the front of a train or back of a train is in any different from someone, or they have to use any more energy, you are more stupid or more ignorant than a 12-year-old. It's just
Is there experimental evidence that can
Maybe not.
prove that we wouldn't
Maybe
expend
not.
any more or less energy, or that we would or wouldn't feel it?
But both. I mean, if you basic physics, the
No,
laws
no,
of
no, no.
physics,
I said
Newton's laws of
experimental
motion.
evidence. Experimental evidence.
Yeah. I can't speak for Rumpus, but for me, what it was the claim was that the human body can feel all forms of motion. And I refuted that just here.
Let's launch a ball to the front and launch a ball to the back.
Is
and
that an
notice
answer to
that
my
you didn't.
question?
Let's
Because my
try it.
question was, is there experimental evidence
There
that we
will be
would or
somewhere, but
wouldn't
I don't happen to have off the top of my
expend
head.
more energy, or would or wouldn't feel it?
Well,
That's a different
I
question.
don't happen to have an experiment off the top of my head, but it's fundamental. I mean, fundamental.
I
to the
don't
laws
care
of physics.
what you want to call it. If you want to call it, if it's written on the fucking bathroom wall, I don't give a shit. I'm asking for experimental evidence. If you don't have it, that's fine.
That would be
Okay,
a good
I don't have
experiment
that off the top
that
of my
flat
head,
earthers
no.
could do.
But
Flat
it's
earthers could
fundamental.
do that.
All physics revolves around the principle force is equal to mass
Oh,
times acceleration. And if you don't have acceleration, you don't have a
No,
force. If you
no.
don't have a
I
force, then
don't
you
care
can't feel it.
about your fucking rhetoric.
Oh
Neither
my
of us
God.
can answer this
You don't
question
care about
without
the laws of physics, the
experimental
basic laws of
results.
physics. Oh my God. Basic
So-
laws
so
of
That's not what I
physics.
said. Not what I
So
said.
you've got to. So you now you're not only a geometry denier. You're now a denier of the laws of motion laid down by Newton have never been invalidated. My God.
No,
You've
I'm a
gone to a new
denier
level,
of
Brandon.
your worship of scientism. That's what I'm a denier
Denier
of.
of laws of motion. These are the three most basic laws of motion, and you're now.
I'm a denier of your completely non-skeptical approach to anything that involves authority. I deny that.
It's fundamental, Brandon, to everything that happens in physics. That
No, it's
anything to
not.
do with moving
More
objects
rhetoric.
have to obey those laws. And if you're denying them, then you're basically denying that.
Did
the
I deny
world
them? I
around
asked for
us-
experimental evidence. That's not denying
don't
you,
happen to have-
asshat.
Okay,
That's
so
your guys'
you
problem.
do
You
it
never
yourself,
fucking
Brandon.
understand that.
Brandon, you
It's
could
too
do it
hard for
yourself.
him to
You
get a
could
cup
you
of
could
water,
drop a
Brandon.
ball. For instance, you could on an airplane or a train. You could
do a
drop
lot
a
of
ball from your hand, and it will go straight vertically down. It will
Narnia.
not be affected by the motion of the train. That would be an experiment that you could conduct yourself to demonstrate that velocity is not something you can detect, and that conforms to Newton's laws. You could do it yourself.
How would that prove whether or not you can feel it?
Because it shows that a constant velocity environment, there are no forces acting on things, and therefore you can't. And the fact that you can't feel it, if you were on a very smooth train, you couldn't tell whether you were doing 1,000,000 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, or 1 mile an hour, or you were stationary. All of those things would feel the same to you.
Well, you very well may be right, but I'd like to see some experimental evidence, and I don't think
Well,
you
that
can
would-
do it because it sounds subjective to me when we say we will feel it or we won't feel it. That's a subjective
Well, that
thing,
yeah,
correct?
that would be something you could do, though. That would be something you could do. It shouldn't be too expensive to get an Amtrak ticket or a regular plane flight ticket
Hey, Brenda,
and do the
shove your
experiment.
condensation on. Here's a
That's
little
not
project for you,
condensation.
flat earthers. Up your fucking ass.
I'm not.
You should have
Brandon, it's no intention on my part to be condescending here. It's just encouragement that you should go out there and do the test.
While you're moving thousands of miles an hour, or 1,000 miles an hour, or 100, or 500, or 20, compared to 70, compared to 80 at all different speeds, accelerate, speed up, slow down.
You can't detect speed, Dem.
But we are accelerating. We are accelerating, correct?
On the surface of the Earth, that is correct.
Yes.
We are.
When you're standing on the Earth, you are rotating. You are there's a rotational acceleration associated with being on the Earth, with it rotating and revolving about the sun.
Brandon, do you know what direction that acceleration is in? Brandon, do you know what that acceleration? Brandon, do you know what the acceleration is?
What is it?
Right, the direction of the acceleration due to the rotation of the Earth is vertical. In other words, it's directly in opposition to your weight. And it's only not, and even at the equator, it's only 0.3% of your weight.
Are we accelerated in a circle or not? Are we accelerated in a circle or not?
I'll give you 5 more seconds, please. And because it's in the same direction as your weight, it's not as though it's going to force you to one side or another. It's directly affecting your feeling of your weight. And it's only 0.3%. You are not capable of feeling that difference. It's like, you've had a glass of water. Do you feel heavier? No, you don't. So therefore you do not feel it. What was your question again?
Okay. I'm not sure that's a good analogy, but I get your point. So maybe we won't feel it, but we are accelerating. We do feel acceleration, right?
Not the small acceleration due to the rotation of the Earth you don't feel.
Well, what is your experimental evidence that we wouldn't feel that?
Because if you go to the equator, you have to. For instance, you must be aware that if you could, the weights of things vary. Please don't interrupt. The weight of an object at the equator is 0.3% less than it is at the North Pole.
Nice
so
story.
We can experimentally verify. Then people like Wolfie have done this, and what's his face?
You made a mistake, by the way, Rumpus.
Has actually, sorry.
You made a little mistake. I thought Rumpus was never wrong on the internet.
Oh God, what have I done? What have I said?
The direction of centrifugal force is perpendicular to the axis of rotation, which at the equator is perfectly up.
I didn't say that. No, it's I said it was in the vertical direction. Sorry, you're
but it's not always.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, sorry, you're actually right. Sorry, Ruhiv's actually correct. Yes, the rotation of the Earth, the actual vector of the centrifugal force is indeed perpendicular to the axis of rotation. Ruhiv is absolutely correct. And that means that
first time for everything, Rumpus.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you, Ruhiv. That's you little devil. Yes, so in fact, actually, at something like the at 45 degrees, it's actually at 45 degrees to the vertical. So actually, that actually causes things not to hang perfectly vertically. In other words, towards the center of the Earth, there's a very slight deviation. So in fact, Ruhiv is absolutely correct.
Sure.
You little devil, Ruhiv, I'll get you back for that, you bastard.
All right. So right. You were just lecturing us about being such an idiot for not knowing the basics and all that shit. And you were wrong.
Well, it's such a small effect. I mean, the point is, it's only 0.3% of your weight. It's no different to taking a glass of water.
I get your argument. I understand your argument. Excellent. I'm just asking you for experimental evidence that we wouldn't feel
the weight
it
of things.
Because
you can measure it.
My only point is that I think it's subjective. It sounds like a subjective measurement.
Schrodinger's cat's done it. If you just take a weight, measure the weight at the equator, measure it at a different altitude. I think critical thinkers done it as well, and you can experimentally measure that this effect exists. But just because you can't feel it yourself with your own senses doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist. We can measure it, and people on these panels have measured it.
Rubber lips, damn. So if I measure an Easter bunny, then what's that mean? Or the bunny rabbit? Like if I measure,
if you observe an Easter bunny. Then you observed it, so they exist. But you haven't observed it, have you?
Hold on a second. That tells me whether I can detect a movement or not as a human. Because
I've lost you now. I'm telling you that the measurable effect of the rotation of the Earth on the weight of something is so small. Hold, let me finish. Nearly there. The weight is so small, you personally, your senses are not capable of detecting it. But we can use instruments that can detect it. What's the difficulty with that?
Where's your demonstration he's asking you for?
And I've
Where are you
told you,
locating
people like
objects?
Wolfie, people like Schrodinger's cat, and Critical Think have created videos showing that standard weights, and they've put them on some scales at different
You're not-
latitudes and demonstrate they show different
You
weights.
lost
What
me
more do you
here.
want?
Hold on. So if your grandma weighs more than your grandpa, that means what?
Completely lost you now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. You're
Well,
weighing
'cause you're a
stuff.
moron.
How's that telling you about what?
I've told you there are people who have on these
doing
panels
1,000 miles
who
an
have
hour.
done the test and can demonstrate to you that this
A
effect
test of
occurs.
weighing scales. You went to a weight school and weighed some weights, 10 kilograms, 5 kilograms. Good for you. How does that tell you whether a human can detect movement or not?
We were talking about the acceleration due to the rotation of the Earth, and that effect is the one that you would have to detect. The thing that we can detect, the change of weights, because it manifests itself in a change of weight of things, and it's so small you would not be able to detect it, but we can measure
What's
it.
the figure?
0.3% at the equator.
I believe that the Air Force has tested its pilots in order to find out what the average human, how much the acceleration, how many newtons the average human can detect.
Is it 0.03 meters?
That's 0.3% is the amount due
That's
if you're on the
percent.
equator.
No, I don't think. I think it's much more than that.
At
No,
the
it's not.
speed,
No, it's
at
not. It's
over the
0.3%.
speed of sound, yeah? That's over the speed of sound.
What?
1.5
I asked for
times the speed
acceleration. You
of
gave me a
sound, that would
percentage,
be.
Rumpus.
Well, I'm
I asked
telling
for
you the
acceleration.
effect. Well, if you're interested in the change in acceleration due to gravity at the equator, at the difference between the North Pole and the
For someone your
equator, which is
size.
due to the rotation of the Earth, it's 0.3%, which is
Okay.
very small.
So here we're
That's a
back
good
at the start where we can't tell whether we're moving or not.
Yes,
you can
at
with
the
instruments,
speed of
Brandon.
sound.
You
You're
can
forgetting
with
at
an instrument.
1.5 times the speed of sound.
What are you talking about velocities for? What's that got to do with the price of fish? We're talking about
1.5
accelerations here.
times the speed of sound, that would be.
What I'm referring to an acceleration of force, and for some reason you're talking about velocity. Do you not know the difference between velocity and acceleration?
The speed of sound over the speed of sound.
What's over the speed of sound? What are you talking about?
Here, let me try to make his point. Imagine you didn't know anything about the
Speed of
world,
sound.
and someone came up to you and told you, "Hey, do you know that you're moving at 1,000 miles per hour, 1.5 times the speed of sound?" You're going to want some pretty good evidence that that's actually the case, because that sounds like a batshit crazy thing to say.
Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Evidence.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, we've got loads of evidence. The focal
So where's
pendulum,
the
the fact that things
demonstration? You
drop in a
keep
different
talking about your
direction,
evidence
the
of
fact that
weighing things.
gyroscopes, the Coriolis effect,
So that's the
the
human
fact that things weigh
detecting
different
movement.
amounts at different latitudes. We have got a
So that's
whole
the
list
human
of ways of
detecting
showing that
movement.
we are rotating
fucking guy,
and
man.
accelerating.
You
Very
have some
easy.
effects
I've
that
just
you've
listed 5 there
assigned
for you.
somehow
I've just
to
listed 5 experiments and observations that you
Earth
can use to determine that
rotation.
we are rotating.
Rumpus, do you know about deceptions? Intentional deceptions.
He's never saw a magic show.
That's going to be way
Yes,
too
I suppose
general.
so. I know more about delusion.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people, flatties, for instance, who try and deceive, but most of them are just.
What if I were to
stupid.
tell you there was an intentional deception in science, in the media, in the whole fucking world that was trying to lie to
You
you?
need to prove that. You need to show evidence for
This is a red
deception.
herring.
Right now, because
Rumpus.
you have no live demonstrations of anything you claim ever. You never
Yes,
have a
we
live
do.
demonstration.
The weight difference
Where's
in
it
weight
at?
due to
Where's it?
latitude
Listen,
is
no,
on videos by
hold on,
people
man.
like
Hold
Wolfie
on
and
a
others.
second. Hold on, you keep talking. Listen, I need a live demonstration of some liquid that we can see.
Nobody cares what you want. Just be quiet. Sit down.
But no one
We need
is
to
saying
imagine.
no one is saying
Can I-
that the weight of something doesn't vary by latitude. Big fucking
Right.
deal.
That
Well, the only way you
shows
can
that
explain
the
that is the
model.
rotation.
Also,
Okay, I
latitude
agree. The weight of something varies by latitude. Now where are we? Can we get back to proving
the
that
only-
the
well,
Earth
we
is
have a-
moving?
Right,
Oh,
because
that's
there's
okay.
only
Being
one
used
account,
by
we've
you
only
guys
got
to
one
say that the
explanation
Earth
for
is
that,
pulling a
and
little
it's a
different.
necessary consequence of the rotation of the Earth, and it exactly
Where
matches what we'd
is
expect.
the moving detection mover at 1,000 miles an hour compared to 0, compared to 50, compared to 700, compared to 80, to compared to 2,000? Where is the experiment that you have with a cup of liquid that's sitting still while it's moving these speeds?
Well, in a train, we've demonstrated.
In a
I
rotation.
don't know whether you accepted it in the end. If you're on a train that's doing 400 miles an hour, an airplane is doing 500 miles an hour, or train doing 200 miles an hour, you will not see any movement in the liquid except for a little, where the bump. There's a bump in the trap. If it's going
Where is
perfectly
this at?
straight.
I haven't seen your video.
It's in the train, not on the train.
So because I haven't made a video about it, you're going to ignore all the hundreds of thousands of institutions that have done experiments on these sorts of things.
retard.
And the established
Because insane institutions. You don't set up an insane institution without experiment. That would be fucking insanity. Those are
basically physics.
No,
the most basic physics you can have, laws of motion. You're talking about Newton's laws of motion.
That's not
Freemasonry, right?
The most basic laws of motion. You're trying to deny the most basic bit of
John's
physics.
laws of taking a piss don't help me. I need to see physical
There
demonstration.
is an international worldwide conspiracy of Freemasons who are trying to deceive you intentionally.
Democ, you've been on an airplane. Hey, Democ, you've been on an airplane. You've seen your glass of water not fly into your face. There's your demonstration.
No, it wiggled. I put a line on there and it wiggled. It moves.
Yeah, but that's
it
turbulence.
vibrates.
Yeah, but that's because
okay.
that's turbulence.
So you're feeling it and it's not going 1,000, is it?
What?
The airplane's not going
the motion of the Earth, the motion of the Earth at 1,000 miles an hour is very, very smooth. Much smoother than an airplane motion.
Almost like it's not moving.
No, it's exactly like it is moving because you can demonstrate it by the difference in weight that
it's
occurs
exactly
and the gyroscopes
like we're
and
not
10 other
moving.
ways if you want to.
Being on Earth is exactly like being on something that isn't fucking moving at all.
At all. Until
that's
you
what
feel
trains are like.
It's not exactly like that.
It is exactly like that.
Until you feel vibration, which is called an
If it's not
earthquake.
moving, we would not expect to see these effects that show that it's
When
moving.
the earthquake is done, you feel no movement.
And there are 10 ways I've listed that show that we're rotating.
On a
I'm so
plane, I was
confused.
just on one for 8 hours. Just walk into the bathroom, you feel movement. Yourself feels like you're almost like you've been drinking a little bit.
That's a different kind of movement. That's a different kind of
Why do we have
movement.
to even rise to this level? Why can we not, first of all, acknowledge that the base
So, Brandon,
of this
you do
argument is
accept
false?
if you were on a train or an aeroplane, a very smooth train, you wouldn't feel the motion. Do you accept
She's
that?
not disagreeing with herself.
Hold on, can I just get to Brandon's position? Brandon, do you accept if you're going along a train doing 250 miles an hour on a perfectly straight, level set of tracks, would you think you could feel that?
I
being different
would
from
think that I
stationary?
would sense
Yes.
that. Yeah.
I would.
Why?
I've been on a train a lot. You'd sense it like a motherfucker. Feels like it's
Because
all over.
I have
Sorry,
always
just-
known
Sorry,
that that I'm moving when I'm on a bus, I'm on a plane. I've been on a plane
Well,
too.
a bus is a bit different. There's bumps in the road. Trains can be made. Trains can be
Guys,
made
hold
much
on,
smoother.
please. Let's not talk over each other.
But Brandon, let's suppose on an aero. I mean, if you think there is this sensation where you can somehow pick up the velocity, do you not think that at 250 miles an hour, you should whatever you feel you perceive should be 250 times bigger than it is at 1 mile an hour?
Yeah.
So you should.
No,
so therefore
I
the fact that
understand
it's-
your argument. I get what your argument is. I understand your logic. What I am saying is, being on Earth is exactly like being on something that's not moving. Can we at least agree on that? I mean,
Yes,
you're
it
here
feels
telling me
like-
that we wouldn't expect to sense the movement of the Earth.
Correct.
So it sounds like you're agreeing with me.
Yes, correct. We would not expect to be
Okay.
able to sense the rotation of the Earth from our senses. That is correct.
No, wait.
Just like
I
you
like how
can't
I said
expect
it. Say it like I said it. Being on Earth is exactly like being on something that isn't moving.
Well, it's not, because there are various experimental ways of establishing that we are moving. But your senses are not sensitive enough to pick up things like the 0.3%.
You can't say it, can you?
Your senses are
You
not
can't even
sensitive enough
give me
to
that
pick up
little
the
bit
0.3%.
of common ground to start off from.
But
I
you're wrong.
posted
No,
in
you're
chat
wrong.
a
It's
video
not
that
exactly
D
the
Marble
same.
made where he took
It's
a level
only,
on a
it's only
plane.
the same in the sense that your senses are not sensitive enough to pick up the small difference. So you perceive it the same, but that does not mean it's the same.
But the problem with your view, Rumpus, is it undermines itself.
Of angle
And the
tilt
movement,
was not
even though
moving.
we're moving, then we could not be moving and not feel it either. We need to be able to trust our senses with some
No,
sort
you
of
don't.
measurement, and you guys haven't
Your
given a
senses are not
threshold
perfect. Your
by
senses
which
are
we
not
can tell
very
that we're
accurate
moving
and
or
not very
not. This is
sensitive.
just
You
small
seem to think that the
number,
human
therefore
senses are
you're
the
not
final
moving.
arbiter of whether
Not moving.
something exists or not. You would be an atom denier. You'd be saying, "Oh, well, I can't see
You
atoms,
need to
therefore."
take the globe.
You can't
portion.
just say small number, therefore I'm not moving. That's not good enough. You need to offer a threshold and see if we are beyond that threshold or not.
All you need is a half cleared plastic globe filled with liquid with a line marking the center point of it, and then watch when the liquid doesn't move from start to finish.
Listen to me though. Why do we even entertain this when we already know that the basis of the theory is an intentional deception?
Right. We have to prove that everything's mechanical, even grains of sand.
I know, but why do we even not throw that out in the first place and then say, okay, what's really going on here?
Well, that's kind of what I was trying to start from.
Been conducted. You've clearly never done
that's kind of where I was trying to start from. Was all right.
Government science.
Jesus.
You want to deny
geometry was invented by Freemasons, dude.
So you're denying the science that gives you computers, aeroplanes, buildings, bridges.
Shut up. iPhones prove the globe. Shut the fuck up.
It was all the Jesuits. They invented it straight from geometry and on.
Well, the thing is, for it to be science, it needs to be testable, observable, and repeatable.
Euclid
was denying the evidence of our senses by saying, even though you don't feel movement or sense it,
science is validated by everyone who that idiot who's talking.
Without
it's not
anything
like
to back
someone
up
just
why
made
we
up
should
an
do
idea and we
so.
all accepted it. It's all been verified by institutions around the world, being tested all the time. It's not. If it was a lie, people would have exposed the lie, but they haven't.
It is a lie, and people have exposed the lie.
It's all been
we have a
verified.
propaganda machine that is completely deceiving everybody.
Airplanes aren't even real, dude.
Prove it.
They're a Jesuit plot.
Birds aren't real.
Well, the thing is, the Earth appears to be very flat and very real, but these institutions have simply declared that it's a ball without any sort of real proof at all. So we need to get back to the drawing board.
We can touch a bird. We can make a model
Euclid was a
bird. We can
Jesuit
fly
and a
a
Freemason.
bird. We can cut a bird open.
Birds are fake.
That is the most
Birds are
retarded
fake.
thing you've ever said in your life.
Listen, I'm
Brenda,
CIA.
you're
Listen,
fake.
I'm CIA.
Brenda,
I
you're
know what
fake.
I'm talking about. We've
Brenda,
got
you're
robots that
You
fly
are
and look exactly like.
Hey guys,
dog
can
is
we
spying
not
on me
have
right
a
now.
fucking dumbass conversation? Can we just try not to have a
Absolutely
stupid
not. The
fucking
answer to that one is
conversation?
no.
Well, no, because every time we ask for a demonstration, they get retarded with us and ask about
I
birds.
posted a demonstration in chat. It's a flat earther doing the demonstration even.
Okay, where is it? What time did you post it at?
Right there. Right there. It's D Marble, and he takes a spirit level on the plane, and the bubble stays in the middle unless there's a little...
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but that little bubble has nothing to do with what we're saying here. That bubble.
Oh,
has
okay. Right. Yeah. Okay.
A bubble would
It doesn't
move if
It's
the
like a
water
bubble
would
in the
move.
air. I forgot it
So if
doesn't
the bubble
count.
doesn't
I
move,
forgot.
the water would not move by logical extension.
Yeah, I forgot. It doesn't count.
Well, hold on a minute. Let's slowly fucking rolls. Hold on. So he takes a fucking spirit level on a plane, and then shows
and the bubble
what?
stays in the middle. It's not the fluid isn't just shoved to one side.
We know that. That just shows level. That doesn't show detect movement.
Okay, then what's the point of controversy with a glass of water on a train?
The ripple effect of actual movement, not tilt. The spirit levels to not show tilt.
The spirit level is moving at 550 miles an hour or some shit.
Well, hold on a minute. It is moving.
What
The
the
bubble
fuck?
is moving.
Just a little bit. It's not shoved to the front.
Well, it's
Like, oh
fucking
my God.
moving. Yeah, it does go up front.
If it
The
jiggles a
spirit
little
level-
bit.
This isn't very
But the spirit-
scientific, man. I mean, come on.
Are you serious, dude?
The spirit
you?
level is just showing you.
What prediction do you
level.
expect to see?
Get
I don't
a gallon
know.
of
What-
water.
You're the one bringing this up as a demonstration of something.
Yes.
Right. So
The
what
water
is
does
there has to
move,
be
but
an
it doesn't
acceleration.
spill. It does appear to vibrate just a little bit, and it does appear
Yeah.
to slant, but it doesn't spill from the cup. But you are dealing with a pressurized plane that
my
has
God.
air that is pressurized that will move in sync with the plane, even if it goes upside down, as long as the movement is smooth and continuous. It is still moving, but it is not as noticeable as a crash.
But
As long as the movement is smooth and continuous, you're still moving and you can feel it, but you're not feeling a jarring start or stop. That's all. You're just bitching into the
That's how I've
claim
experienced
to
it as
detect
well.
All motion. You claim to be able to
Yeah.
detect all motion, and obviously you can't.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
can
like
even
I
feel
can
it on the
detect
stick by
when I'm
going to the
moving.
back
No,
of
you
the
can't.
Where can you not detect motion at? Where's this ride at? Where's the ride that moves that you don't detect it?
An airplane, a train.
No, I feel like
Far
I
away.
know I'm moving when I'm on an airplane. I can feel that I'm
I do
moving.
too.
This is
If I'm
such
moving,
a
I know.
ridiculous fucking argument.
I know.
Oh my
That's what I'm
God.
trying to point out.
It's super
Why-
ridiculous.
why?
They've never been to the fair. Are you kidding me? Six Flags, Disneyland? Come on,
For you
man.
to move, for you to move, you need to be under some sort of power that is giving you impetus to move, whether it's your own legs walking or something shooting you like a projectile across the room. And you need to be moving through a medium that gives you a relative metric to tell
none
what
of
you're
that is
moving
true.
through.
None of
That
that
is
is
the
true.
only way to detect movement. So the Globers have destroyed the only framework by which we can detect movement, making us lapse into relativity and meaninglessness.
No,
Yeah, that's just all word salad. So we can only detect.
Squishes me. My cousin squishes me more and more and more. And when
That's
my cousin,
acceleration.
guess what? That's movement, retard.
No, it's acceleration.
So
You
now,
have to move through a medium, and you need to have something powering your movement. That is how you know that you are moving. You destroyed the framework of the ether. Moment it was the 30 kilometers per second necessary for us to go around the sun.
When
You
the
need
Earth is
acceleration.
rotating, it should
This
build
is
up
not
more.
science
and more
anymore.
and
This is
more.
nothing but philosophy.
You haven't the slightest
and each
clue
and every
what
time we
science
try to
is.
prove this, you just put more mind-killing philosophy, or we can't tell if we're moving in a train, a plane, or anything to destroy the mind and keep us from asking questions about why we're not getting evidence of this model.
On a fair ride. You really get squished on a fair ride. I don't know what you need to imagine. There's no tooth fairies here. Get on a fair ride, make it go faster and faster and faster.
Because of acceleration.
So
That's
why do you feel
acceleration.
that? Why do you feel that? What are you feeling?
Because
then?
it's acceleration.
What are you feeling?
It's acceleration.
So what would you feel on the Earth moving 1,000 miles an hour spinning?
You would feel acceleration. You would feel acceleration if it was enough for you to feel, but you can't.
But we don't.
But
That
yes, you
fair
can
ride
measure it.
not moving
You
that
can't
fast.
feel it because it's
That
too
fair-
small.
That fair ride is moving slow as fuck. It's
No,
not
because
moving
it's
1,000 miles an hour.
it's not
Okay.
the absolute no motion.
If you drink a glass of water, you know you're heavier, right? But you can't feel it. But you can weigh yourself, and then you know.
Yeah. Okay. That's
you could be
true.
heavier
You can weigh
and not be
yourself
able to
and know
feel
that
it,
you
but you
drank
really
some
are
water,
heavier.
possibly. Yeah.
We need to
So
see
what is the
vibration
equivalent of
for it.
that to knowing that the Earth moves?
Right.
Whatever amount of water you have to drink to feel heavier.
No.
That
What
doesn't
is
even
the
make any
equivalent? You
sense.
use that as an analogy for measuring the movement of the Earth. What is that analogous to? What is your measurement?
Okay, so you weigh like something like a quarter pound less at the equator, right? So that would be the equivalent of trying to feel drinking 4 ounces of water.
Let's break this down a little bit. Hear me out here. So before I drink the water, I weigh myself. I drink the water. I weigh myself directly afterwards. Pretty damn good chance that it was the water that caused me to increase in weight, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm on the face of the Earth and I'm at the equator. I weigh myself. Then I move to 45 degrees north and I weigh myself, or I weigh something that's more accurate. There's a slight discrepancy. What is the independent variable that caused that discrepancy?
Loss of water.
Whether or not there is rotation to the Earth.
How did you get there? Because all you did, the only thing you manipulated was your location.
Right. If no rotation to Earth, things weigh same at different places.
Where did you get that, and how did you arrive at that assumption?
Brandon, just
Or
a
at least
second.
relative to your latitude.
Brandon, your
No.
latitude. yeah, that's
Hold on. Let me get to the end of this. Where did you get the assumption that on a flat stationary Earth, your weight wouldn't change with latitude?
Because we assume that there's not a God trying to trick us by trying to make it appear as though there's physical laws, and really it's all just magic.
No. How did you rule out all the other variables that could have caused that
What other
difference in
variables?
weight, since you didn't even manipulate your
What other
independent
variables?
variable that you're claiming is the cause of the weight change?
What other variables?
You haven't even thought about the other variables. So that
How about
you are presupposing what would happen on a flat stationary plane, and then you are making a measurement, an observation of a weight change, and assigning that with no cause and effect relationship demonstrated via experiment as the cause of your weight change.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm making a prediction based on an assumption of a flat Earth that is not rotating,
and that predicts that we should weigh the same at different latitudes.
All right. Well, your assumption is wrong.
No,
What about
the result is wrong.
electromagnetism?
So
The addition of electricity via the Hutchinson effect makes stuff have anti-gravity effects and levitate, seemingly weighing less. How do you know it's not an electromagnetic effect, especially since in experimentation we can control this gravity thing with the addition of electricity? How about that?
Could
We
be
can do it with
anything,
any
Lemon.
material
He didn't even
anywhere on the
control. He
world.
doesn't even have any alternative variables. He doesn't have any variables
We
that
can
he
do it
has
with any
controlled
material
for that he
anywhere
could
on the
name.
world. And any material is electromagnetic. So that's a possibility. So it could just be electromagnetism over a flat plane. I'd go with the
Why are
ether
you
since it
saying-
appears to have electromagnetic properties as well, with electricity, magnetism, and other fields.
Well, what's your experimental evidence that it's that? Or are you just saying that's an alternative, Lemon?
That's an alternative based off of the Hutchinson effect. They add
Okay.
a bunch of electricity, and all of a sudden, the object's levitating.
There's one alternative, and since you didn't manipulate the
Okay, so we
independent
don't add a
variable
lot
in
of
your
electricity, done.
experiment with the different latitudes, you really can't rule that out. Or did you rule that out?
Well, you
Yeah,
just
we
don't
just
add
don't add a lot of electricity, and we do it with any material.
So, Lemon, do you believe in the Hutchinson effect?
Yes.
On the basis of what experiments?
Demonstration. They add a bunch of electricity, and you see
Who's they? Who's they?
What is the
Who
Hutchinson
did this?
effect?
Who did this?
I'll tell you. A Hutchinson effect is making stuff levitate by the addition of a huge amount of electricity.
Are you talking about the videos that are on YouTube of him doing this?
Yes.
Yeah, see, Lemon, you're
How do
leaving
you
us
account-
open to just being attacked because you're saying something else that we don't have experimental evidence
So
for.
how do you?
But I would
so
ask
how do you-
this. I would ask
What
you
we do
this,
have,
Brenda. I
Brandon.
know you really want to go down
Okay.
this path, but let me ask
Brandon,
this
hold,
question:
Brandon, hold on, I got you.
How did you rule
I got
out the global gravitational variations on that are supposed to be on the face of the Earth in your experiment where you weighed
can't.
something at different latitudes?
Can't, because forward is up on the Earth, on the globe.
Oh, hold
Going
on,
forward.
Dimok. I was asking, what's his face? The guy who did this experiment or knows about it. Hank Hill.
Well, Lemon knows about it. It was Hutchison.
I wasn't talking to you,
producing
Brenda.
video-
I'm talking to Hank Hill. He's the one who is telling us about the
I'm just filling
experiment.
you in with. I'm being helpful. I'm being helpful.
No, we don't need your help. He's the one who knows about the experiment. He told us about it.
No, he doesn't know anything. He's a moron.
Okay.
You're confusing me with another guy, I think.
What? Oh, is that
Yeah,
your
this is
picture,
not
Hank
Hank
Hill? Okay, I'm sorry. What's your talk again? So I can see who you are. I got too many people here on the.
That's Billy.
Are you
Howdy,
talking
y'all,
about
I'm
me or
Billy.
the flat earther?
Yeah, Billy.
Yeah, that's Billy.
Yeah, that's Hank Hill on your fucking icon, dude.
Well,
Oh
there's
yeah, I thought you were
another-
talking about the flat earther.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got you.
there's
No,
another
Billy,
flat
listen.
earther guy.
Did you hear my question?
What was it?
Let me repeat it. How did you rule out the global variations in gravitational potential that is said to happen on the face of the Earth from being the cause
Okay,
of your
just do it in a
weight
shitload of
differences at
places.
different latitudes?
Do it in a shitload of places.
Okay,
Well,
what
how
does that prove?
rule it out? Just describe to me.
Because if it's just variations in local gravity, then you would not expect it to be perfect with latitude.
Why wouldn't you expect it to be perfectly what?
You wouldn't expect to see this weight reduction just varying with latitude.
You keep
That happens when
assuming
you go
what
up
you
and
would
down.
expect to see. I don't understand. This is the problem when you don't have an independent
I'm
variable
using
that you
reason.
manipulate. You have to make all these
I'm
fucking
using reason.
assumptions.
Yeah. You have your assumptions. You use those assumptions to make a prediction, and then you see if that prediction is what you actually.
I don't care if you can
Exactly.
predict something. It's about demonstrating cause and effect relationship. That's all we're interested in. You said, I drink a glass of water. I put myself on a scale. I weigh more. You use that as an analogy for this different weights at different latitudes. It's not the same.
doing
You understand the
science.
difference.
That was an analogy for
doing
not
science.
detecting a weight with your own feeling, but detecting it with a scale. But it's still real.
Oh God. All right. Never mind. I'm done.
Okay.
I would like to ask Lemonbird how he deals with the Hutchison effect. You still there, Lemon? How do you
You
deal
get
with
anti-gravity effects with electricity and high frequency.
Yeah, how do you
that appears
deal?
to be experimentally controllable and verifiable.
Yeah.
So I'm
How
going to
do
go
you-
with that.
How do you deal with the fact that you can like see the strings?
I guess we'd have to go with the strings in the Earth or whatever.
No,
the
the
Earth is a
strings-
big electromagnetic plate or whatever.
Dude,
So
in his videos,
I'd go
you
with
can
that based
see
off
the-
of what's experimentally verifiable.
Dude, in the video, you can see the strings that he's pulling. You can see them.
Timestamp. It's a 2-minute
You can
video.
see them.
Timestamp, please.
What video are you
Why
guys
the
talking
fuck
about?
do we even rise to this goddamn level? It's so ridiculous. It's an intentional deception from the beginning, flat out. Why do we even have to rise to the level?
Geometry is a conspiracy, and Euclid was a Jesuit Mason. Everybody knows this.
Who's Euclid?
Yeah,
All right.
And Mars-
The bit was
Mars, what
funny the
evidence
first
do you
couple
have?
times, Mars Chamber. It really was, but it's getting a little obvious.
Mars, what evidence do you have for universal deception going on?
Universal? No, I said there's a free Masonic deception that's happening in the United States of America since its founding. And I
Well,
have
what's your-
all the fucking evidence that you want.
How can you deceive people about the laws of nature?
No, I don't claim to say that the laws of physics are bunk.
Well, that's what
claim
we're
to say that
talking
they're
here.
right.
We're not-
Okay,
we're
I
not
understand
talking
this,
about
but you
politics.
are arguing about the laws of physics based on an intentional deception of the fucking globe and Freemasonry.
Yeah, but how can you fake the laws of nature? You can't do that.
I'm not arguing that.
Yes, you
I'm not
are.
arguing physics with you.
Yes, you. That's
No,
what
I'm
we're
not.
arguing.
I will not even dignify that. I'm telling
That's
you
what
there's an
we are-
intentional deception.
We are arguing the laws of physics.
I
You
know,
are arguing
I know.
something else.
I'm
You're
saying, why
arguing
does it have
something
to
else.
rise to that level? Why do you even have to go there?
Because you can't fake the laws of nature.
Our understanding of the laws of nature change.
Not with that-
Right, so that's,
okay, my proposition is telling you
questionable.
that the globe, the model of the heliocentric model in space and all that science fiction bullshit is an intentional deception. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So why do we even have to rise to the level of debating physics?
Because you can't fake the physics. You can't fake it.
So you're saying that it's provable that the Earth is a globe. Is that what you're saying physically? It's provable? Is that what you're saying?
That we have undeniable demonstrations conducted in laboratories and in the field that show that the laws of physics hold.
Okay. And what's your opinion on, Freemasonry and intentional deception?
It's a club for old white guys to sit around and drink beer.
So it has no effect
That's
now.
pretty
in the
racist
modern
there,
world?
Brenda.
You should ask Shaquille O'Neal about that.
Are you saying that there is no more effect in the modern world from it? You don't know, do you?
Mars,
Well,
I
the only
think that
thing
you're
that's
fucking
physical
around with
or
us.
physics-
It's funny, but I think we're done with it. So
Well, the only
anyway,
thing from physics. Sorry.
this
you know that
Hutchison effect,
America-
I have looked at this Hutchison effect before, Lemon. Do you have anything else besides this video? I'm just curious. I mean, it's interesting, but I have heard that it couldn't be replicated and that he refused to demonstrate with anybody around. But I could
And
be
you can
completely
see
wrong.
the strings. You can see
No,
the
you can
strings.
see the low quality film. And I asked you for a timestamp within a 2-minute video.
How about you look
You
for
have
it?
the string. Why don't you give me a timestamp for that?
There are
Otherwise, I see a low quality video with who knows what in the film.
There are multiple videos produced by him, and you can see the strings.
You give us a
What are you
timestamp,
asking
Brenda,
for?
of the strings where you can see them. So we
I'm
can look.
not going to do your footwork for you, just like in
Then
the
you're
other.
dismissed. Then you're dismissed.
Do
You're saying
your
that you're
homework.
not offering any sort of evidence, so I'm just going to dismiss you.
Do your
The thing is, we can get other gravity effects with electricity, allowing stuff to levitate in high frequency. So I'm going to go with that over your ball pulling stuff to the center of it.
So ridiculous.
I mean, it's
One
an
time-
alternative, but we don't know because there is no experimental evidence.
Your whole fucking outlook is a complete fucking science fiction deception, and you motherfuckers.
There's a little bit of evidence. There's a guy that fell off a building and his face was touching the fucking power wire. And while the power wire had power, he was stuck to the cord. And then when they cut the power, the guy fell and hit the ground. So
yeah, that demonstrates that electricity can have that kind of holding effect, that physical effect. I don't know what the name is, but
right. So what else are they wondering about?
that the cause,
Tetanus.
the effect that we see, the difference in the weights at different latitudes, is caused by that electrical effect.
So the reason that guy was still was because when electricity is going through, your muscles contract.
Resistance.
Hold on. And that's what happened. When they cut the electricity, his muscles relaxed and he fell.
His face?
Makes sense. You'd have to show that his arms aren't holding on to it. Otherwise, it's not just electricity holding it. It's the contracture of the guy's muscles and, him holding on to it. And
I've got no doubt that electricity could cause a similar, holding effect, but
yes, it can.
we cannot assign that effect of things weighing different at different latitudes to that without an experimental link.
I'd say with the electricity, you wouldn't even have to worry about latitudes, but the latitudes would be a different. Yeah,
Wolfie did the experiment, Brandon.
I'm not. No, all he did was weigh something at different latitudes, right?
That's what you just asked for.
No, it's not. I'm asking you to. You didn't all you manipulated was your location, your latitude. That's it. That's your cause.
Yes, that's an independent variable. Yes, you manipulate the IV, right? Yeah, that's what you do.
So the cause is latitude. That's what we've got.
No, the gravity varies by the distance from the center, and that varies based on latitude.
No, we have weighed something at different latitudes. We have a difference in weight. That's it. That's as far as you've gotten. You have an observation. You have not assigned it to any cause.
there are other demonstrable effects. It's kind of like you're begging the question without going to the center of the earth and seeing if anything's being pulled toward that or whatever. It's just a little bit too question begging-y. And electromagnetism appears to be a very viable option, giving us electromagnetic levitation, quantum locking, and other things that are at least demonstrable.
Yeah, do you want something floating that's got electric going through it? Is that what you're asking for?
I'm just asking for you to manipulate the independent variable and show its effect on the dependent variable, which in this case is the weight of the item at different latitudes.
Okay, centripetal acceleration causes the weight to vary, and we vary the centripetal acceleration by varying the latitude.
Well, you could probably use quite a few different forces or generate forces in a number of ways to demonstrate some kind of effect on weight, right? But you have to tie that to your actual claim, which is that it is the Earth.
Well, no, you got to have for a glober, yeah, but for a flat Earth,
that's what we did.
No, you didn't.
For a flat Earth, all you need is focused energy to manipulate the frequency.
I wish that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. You never seen it before? Oh, let me put a thing in it for you.
Oh, are you talking about that effect where they?
Yeah. So what the experiment measures, it's big G M1 times M2 over R squared.
No, it's not. No, it measures the weight. Yeah. It measures the weight at different latitudes. Yeah. The force that the object is putting downwards. That's all it measures.
That's correct. The weight is the force exerted on the object.
The weight is the force of the object pushing downwards on the thing that you're weighing it with, or if you're hanging it from something.
And that's dependent on big G M1 times M2 over R squared.
That's what you say. That's your definition of gravity. I understand that. You didn't manipulate gravity, did you?
And that change, yes, you vary it by going to different latitudes.
No.
Just like you can vary the current of a river by going from the middle of the river to the edge of the river, where it's slower and it's faster in the middle.
I'd just like to pick one nit. We're varying the centripetal acceleration, not gravity.
Oh, there you go, Brenda. You don't even know what you're talking about.
gravity is not centripetal acceleration. Centripetal force is a pseudo force.
Yeah, but that's what you're varying.
That's what we're
changing
varying
your
by going to
latitude.
different latitudes. We're trying to show that the Earth spins by showing that the centripetal acceleration is different at different latitudes.
By the way, that's not what you're varying. All you're varying is your latitude, and you're observing the effect on the dependent variable, which is the weight of the object. That's all you're doing. You can pretty it up and you can add all this shit to it, but that's all that experiment does.
It does what I said it does. You're basically agreeing and then saying no. I mean, if you don't want to reason, I can't make you.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm saying that's all the conclusions we can draw from it. That's it. You're adding all this extra shit.
Not unless, I mean, if you want to not use math and reason and physics.
What does math have to do with
I can't
it?
make you.
What does
The
math have to do with it?
hypothesis is the spin. If it spins, then there will be a centrifugal force at different latitudes. That's what we show. You have any other idea why this happened?
Well, first of all, your claim that
Let's
you're
hear your
measuring
theory.
centripetal
Let's hear your
force
hypothesis.
is another claim on top of this everything else. All you're measuring is the weight of the object. That's it.
Right, great.
And you're claiming it's centripetal force.
No.
Yes, you are.
No.
Yes, you are. You just said it. Two people said that to me. Three, maybe.
Gravity is not centripetal force. That's not what gravity is.
It is. Right, gravity is not centripetal force, but the difference in weight at different latitudes is due to centripetal force.
Yeah, the gravity is the same at 45 as it is at the equator. The variation comes from the difference in centripetal force.
Also, Toadie's saying it's not an experiment, which I've said both. It's an experiment and an observation. That it's a scientific observation.
It's an observation. It's an experiment. It's gold. It's fucking cool.
I don't know about
It's
globes.
really not that.
and-
It's really not that cool. I know you think it is, but it's not.
The centripetal force.
Okay, whatever. You don't think it's cool. That's fine.
I mean,
the centripetal
you get
force
to travel.
acts against gravity.
Right, so
Yeah,
stuff weighs less at the
no,
equator
yeah.
because of
Yes,
centripetal acceleration.
because the centripetal force is acting against gravity. It's the
No,
gravity
exactly.
that's
No,
giving you the weight.
centripetal-
Exactly.
No, gravity is centripetal force.
No, gravity is not
It's the
centripetal force.
opposite. It's the opposite of centrifugal force.
Get the fuck out. Listen, man. Look back in the thing, man. When you manipulate electricity or current through something, you can manipulate the weight. I don't understand. When you manipulate the potential of it, you manipulate the weight. Helium has a potential, sort of like noble things, and heat. It has a certain potential. That's why going away from fucking ground.
That's
Everything
like
else.
schizophrenia or something. I don't even
So
know what that is.
centripetal force.
Magnetism.
Most of the people in here are
Positive,
profoundly
negative.
mentally ill.
So centripetal force, including you,
Opposites
Brenda,
attract.
says is a force that makes a body follow a curved path. So you're claiming already that this object is moving in a curved path. You're already claiming movement by saying that it's centripetal force that you're measuring. Its direction is
You're crushing
always
your point.
orthogonal to the motion of the body and towards the fixed point of instantaneous center of curvature of the path. That's quite the mouthful.
We have a
Isaac Newton
theory, and it
described
makes
it
a
as a force
prediction,
by which
and we
bodies
see
are
that
drawn or
prediction,
impelled or in
and
any way
we have a
tend
null
towards a point
hypothesis,
as
and that's
to a
rejected.
center. And it says, in Newtonian mechanics, gravity provides the centripetal force causing astronomical orbits. So you're already claiming
Yep, that's correct.
gravity, right? You've got gravity baked in here. You've got centripetal force being caused by rotation already that you're using.
Caused by gravity, yeah.
And this is nothing, guys. You've got a weight at different latitudes.
Wait, it doesn't
Nothing.
make sense.
It
doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense.
yeah, you don't understand the experiment. I mean,
No,
there's
I
nothing else to
understand
do.
it
We explained
perfectly
it in
well.
detail. We got a null hypothesis. We got an independent variable.
You have the little
It's
ball
great.
spinning with all this.
This is
stuff
the gold
working on
standard,
it
man.
live.
As Toady said, you have an observation. That's it. You're making
do you have
all these
observations?
claims,
We have a
and you're
repeatable
building
experiment.
this structure on top of this observation. But your
We have a
observation
null hypothesis.
doesn't really
We have a
support
theory
all
with a
that.
prediction. We can test it multiple times. It's repeatable. It's fucking gold. This is science.
But I'm not denying the observation. No one here is denying the observation that I've heard.
Right, but you're not doing the reasoning to know that that's equivalent to acknowledging that we are rotating.
No, I am doing the reasoning. You are the one adding to it. You're connecting dots
just
that
not
aren't
doing
there.
the reasoning, and we're kind of at an impasse. If you don't want to reason, I can't make
it. Other than a story, do you get it, clogged
Well,
ears?
the story makes sense.
Demonstration for your
The story makes sense, Demo. Whether you like it or not, it makes sense.
We need a demonstration. Thank you.
You have one. You don't like it though.
Your
Well,
demonstration
you
is
assumed a cause. That's the thing. So
Well,
other
valid.
causes can be assumed. And already with gravity, they go to space time now. So
Go
it looks like
ahead.
they're already looking for the source
Go
of the
ahead,
force
Lemon.
in space
Assume
itself.
the cause.
They couldn't even
Assume the
get
cause. Find an experiment that agree with you.
all these guys couldn't even
It's
put
too undetermined to go with. We can go with something else.
Oh, right.
They couldn't even put a cup of liquid on film to show the liquid never touched the rim of the glass. They
Yeah,
could
we posted that video way back.
I'm waiting for it way front right now.
Too bad. Look it up for yourself.
Too bad.
It's a glass of water on a bullet train. Just Google that. Have at it.
Right.
They move pretty continuously, but you can tell that you're moving from the front to the back.
You can't.
Just like you would on a nurse.
You can't unless you're accelerating.
The coin can't, and you can.
The coin insane and no movement or movement should come into play too. So what's the difference between an earthquake and the earth moving and wobbling?
An earthquake is a change in motion. So it's
It's also
acceleration.
you're shaking. It's not moving from place to place.
Hey, sorry, a couple of super chats right here. The Science of Science, $5. I love how the globe side requires you to know their imaginary world. Yeah, I agree. And it's all baked in together, just like that observation we were talking about. And Science of Science, $5 again. Why do these globe people spend so much time explaining why there is no evidence for the globe? Why don't they just provide the evidence? See, I think that they're convinced that this is evidence, that they have proven it. They've bought all these stories in. They're always provided with a plausible explanation, and they're willing to suspend their disbelief and go against all of their senses and agree with the authorities that they are on a moving, rotating ball that's floating through nearly endless nothingness, according to them, that was spawned from a single point sometime billions of years ago. It just goes on and on and on. The whole body of shit you have to believe when you buy into this is unbelievable. Anyway, thank you, Science of Science. I think I'm in kind of a shitty mood tonight. I don't know why. Probably being a dickhead, but thanks, guys.
Feel movement, not because we're not moving, but because we are moving. We are just too stupid to know it or work out the math to prove it.
That is correct.
Lemon, your way, like I told you, I feel a slight breeze now. I must be moving according to you.
No, you're not under any power.
That was your way to tell if you're in a car, you put your head out, and you feel if
We're going to drop you off on the treadmill in the jungle
You
and
said
let
it.
the lion come after you and tell you you're moving, but we're going to sit you still. We're going to sit you still, but tell you you're moving away from the lion. He'll never catch you. Don't worry, he'll never catch you. You're not moving at all.
Isn't the Earth's orbit elliptical?
Yeah.
And so the speed is constant on the entire ellipse. It never changes.
Changes a little bit.
Just put Chike on a treadmill and have him run from the lion. He'll get away real quick.
So there is a change in acceleration. We just don't notice it.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Tiny.
It's always too small or too big for anybody to notice that we're on a giant
Well, I mean,
ball.
you could just learn math and then know it. I mean, I don't understand why you don't.
Even if you learn math,
Now I
it's
think
still
you're
going to
a
be
troll.
flat.
They
It's
can't.
going to be a bunch of math.
Now I think you're trolling. This guy's trolling, right? What he just said. You could learn math and then you know it.
What's 5 over? What
Billy's
is
a
5
zealot.
divided by 0, Brandon? What is 5
Billy's
divided by
a
0?
zealot.
0.
Math is reality, remember,
Did
Brandon.
Billy say that?
Happy
5 divided by 0 is
They
not
gotta give
defined.
you
You
a black
cannot
hole.
divide by 0. You can
Gotta
only
give you a
divide
black
by some
hole,
sort of
Brenda.
quantity as defined currently by the current mathematics.
That would give you an infinite size universe, Brenda.
Give
0
you
divided by anything is 0. 5 divided by 0 is undefined.
0 divided by 0 is not 0.
0 divided by 0 then would be undefined.
Undefined.
No
yes,
way.
Good
you're
job.
right. I forgot that it's undefined.
There's
Can't
no way
divide
you
by
sit
0.
somebody still. You can't sit somebody still somewhere and be like, "Hey, you're moving."
Although
And then-
technically there's no quantity to divide for 0 to be divided
then-
by 0, but that gets into philosophy.
It's
No,
just a
it's just
definition.
math. It's
put
just
them on
math.
a merry-go-round.
Negative
while-
numbers, positive numbers, and even complex numbers are all real.
You can't
There are
divide
concepts
nothing by nothing,
that
Brenda.
need-
I don't care what story you tell yourself. That's not real.
Show us the merry-go-round experiment where the water doesn't move or you can't feel movement.
We already showed you, Dan. We already showed
On
you.
the merry-go-round, go.
We already showed
On
you.
a merry-go-round, you're accelerating way more than on Earth.
Way more than
Well,
on
they'll
Earth.
show you something like fish in a
Hold
fish
on,
tank,
hold
and
on a
they
minute.
speed it
How
up
can you-
slowly, and they swim
How
like
can you
nothing's
be
going on. But
accelerating
fish
more
are
than 15
specially formulated with their fins, their gills, and their bodies, and their scales to swim through media like that and not feel the tug as much. Because they can just, stand in a current and it'll just pass by them, but it'll look like they're still, standing still
water
in
will
place if
leave
you're
the
like in a
planet.
river or something like that. So they're specially formulated to stay in place while
Fish.
water courses over them.
Right. Fish are not specially formulated. That's just
Yes, they
gibberish.
are. They have scales, they have fins, and their bodies are streamlined for the
Just-
stuff that just go right.
To not get thrown off the thing.
Fish and motorcyclists that drive
You
on
get
the
thrown off the merry-go-round
wall
at
of
50
death.
miles
They
an hour.
also design for it.
1,000-mile-an-hour planet doesn't throw you off, but a 15, 20, 30-mile-an-hour merry-go-round does.
It's the change in direction, Dem. You don't understand
Which
anything.
direction do I need to spin the merry-go-round?
You don't understand anything.
direction do
It's
you
a
want me to
wonder
spin it?
that you even know how to tie your shoes if you do.
Which direction's the smart direction, Brenda?
It's the change in
Away
motion,
from you, Demo.
acceleration.
Away from you.
Brenda, your stories sound really retarded, okay? You have all these changes, but the Earth doesn't have all these changes? What are you, stupid?
Well, if you look at the Earth, it looks flat and motionless. So I'm going to go with that. We're always going to have flat Earthers.
Not if you look at it from a rocket.
Flat.
Talk about the
It
globe.
feels
I'll-
motionless.
The Earth does not look flat. The Earth does not look flat, even from the surface.
Oh, yes, very
Looks to be
flat.
flat.
No,
Motion.
it does not.
And you can sit a cup of water on the ground, and guess what? It's not going to vibrate at all. It's not going to jiggle out of its fucking source.
It will if there's an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that.
You don't think a cup of water would jiggle if there's an earthquake?
I didn't say that. I said
you
go
did.
out of its
You said
container.
that. Yes, you did.
I heard it.
No, I said go out of its container. That's
Yeah,
because you
it'll
got
go out of its container if
you
there's an
guys
earthquake. Of course it will.
before someone's finished even talking. That's how you can really hear somebody's end of their sentence, really, right? By over talking them before they're done. That's how you heard me
Your
finish my
sentences
sentence.
are dumb, dude.
No, your globe is dumb that you can't
Damn,
present.
you have no place complaining about interruptions for anybody. No place at all.
Water.
So we need to look into other options over a flat plane, including ether, swirling and giving us gravimetric effects, or what they call space-time in the current rhetoric.
Why do you have a tide on a globe if you can't experience movement on a globe? Why are things moving on a globe ever at all if there is no experience movement ever and there's no movement? If everything's said to move at the same said exact rate, how come everything is moving different? Birds, trees, everything, every different fucking form of leaf, every different size of resistance for every different amount of thing or size of thing is a form of resistance you get. Not a globe spinning. Where do you have evidence of this?
Motion is relative. It's not absolute.
Motion. Yeah,
So
motion. You
birds,
motion for
so
evidence.
birds move in the sky relative to the Earth.
Cool story, bro. Where's
So
the
that's how it works, right?
Your spinning globe.
Birds move in the sky relative to the Earth.
Just like
we
the
know.
sun.
Where's your globe?
The sun does not move relative to the Earth.
It does.
You're saying birds or in orbit?
Oh, the sun moves across the sky.
No, it doesn't. The Earth
does.
rotates. The Earth rotates.
The problem with that is that leads to an infinite regression, because the question needs to be asked: what is moving relative to what is moving relative to what?
If
you get an infinite regression unless you have an absolute standard at the bottom to end the infinite regression. That would appear to be the surf on pillars on top of a watery deep, according to the scriptures, and or at best space itself, the ether gently flowing over the earth.
It's a stationary plane, man.
If the sun was moving, it would change its size. It doesn't change its size, so it's not moving.
You guys always think you always define. You always define what would be.
Right.
You always think it's something different than what is, because
yes,
it doesn't.
That's how
fit your
reasoning
model.
works, Brandon. Reasoning works by if this, then that.
That's making shit up and guessing. That's what
that's
you're doing.
reasoning.
How do you tell? So how do you tell if the sun is rotating above in the sky or around the earth? How do you tell? How you differentiate between the two?
You need a third-party arbiter to move through, aka space itself, aka the ether,
never mind what it
denied
moves
by
through,
Globers in their weird framework.
No,
Otherwise,
you
you
make
can't
it clear.
prove one way or another.
Yes, you can.
Experiment,
You
please.
see what path it takes.
And if they were interested in proving it, they wouldn't have bombed the framework. They're not interested in proving anything.
Is not above you. That it takes is not above you. It's around you. Then you know it's.
No, you don't know anything
at
about
least
your
circling the earth.
Nobody knows what your story is going to do next. Your story could end right tomorrow.
Adults talking, please.
What we're doing is talking about elders and humans, and how humans should logically and physically and tangibly think. And they should think with demonstrable, repeatable evidence, not stories. So, Chike, when you
Now,
want to
we
bring,
give that, but you just go, nuh-uh.
where's your demonstration of water?
I'm waiting for your tides in mud puddle for a year now, Demo. Tides in the mud puddle. How difficult that is to demonstrate.
See, that's why you guys turn it into a shit show, because
You're talking about it 1 year.
Talking over every sentence I say, you hot airbag. Demonstrate tides.
Yeah,
on
demonstrate it.
Windbag. Windbag.
D-Mock's making you guys look the fool.
You got a lot of fucking hot air coming out.
Not that ever.
Demonstration time. Show and tell.
Yeah, go ahead. Tides in the mud puddle with the
Flat
fan.
Earth, not moving. Cup of water.
See them.
Not moving. Mud puddles, not moving. No vibration.
No, you said you have tides. You can make tides in the mud puddle. Go ahead.
The flat stationary Earth. So where can you sit something on the outside of your moving Earth and show movement?
I mean, Demo, a fan and a mud puddle. How hard can that be?
Well, apparently
I know
too
you
hard
have a camera. I know you have a camera.
for your globe, because your globe's not showing it right now, motherfucker. Where's your globe and a fan and some water? How hard could that be to show a tide on a globe, sissy?
Very hard.
Yeah.
You can tell when he's losing. When he knows he's losing, you can tell.
You guys are at quite the disadvantage, though, D-Mock. We got to give them that, because they just can't demonstrate anything. So it always puts them at a little bit of a disadvantage.
I'm sorry.
Well, Brandon, we provided many demonstrations on many Globe Earth YouTube channels. They've all been provided to you, but you just ignore them.
I didn't mean to provide demonstration of a non-moving mud puddle outside for everyone to go look at and see.
Brenda, you have shown orbits. You know what we need to show orbits? Electromagnetism and quantum locking.
On Earth.
So why do you still have gravity when it appears electromagnetic quantum locking is needed to demonstrate any sort of orbit at all?
Physically in the lab.
Because electromagnetism cannot account for the phenomenon we call gravity.
Demonstration.
Actually, we have a thing called incoherent magnetism that attracts either pole of a coherent north-south pole magnet. Since everything's so magnetic, why not incoherent magnetism?
That's a lie. The magnet pulls the incoherent magnet. It's not the other way.
The incoherent buckyball magnet with its north-south poles all over the place and that incoherent mass is attracting either pole of the coherent north-south pole
it's
magnet.
the other pole. It's the pole that's attracting the incoherent magnet. And like I told you, shut the fuck up, Dino.
That is your gravity right there by demonstration. This is actually testable, repeatable, and verifiable. Based off of the videos, I'd go with this over gravity.
Every piece of iron is an incoherent magnet. That's nothing new.
Spin your south-north magnetic spherical ball and show us all the stuff it can do in a lab.
Dino, adults are talking. Shut up.
Where? Where are the adults at? Under your chair? You go find
probably
them.
the ones who are quiet.
Options.
Oh shit. Yeah, so one thing that you can't demonstrate is the magic Velcro moving atmosphere. You guys always struggle with that one.
I can explain it to you if you really want.
I've heard a lot of explanations. I'm not sure those are valuable, but
sometimes
like
Globers say dumb things, but the explanation is there's two. One is it simply retains the angular momentum it had during the formation of the solar system, and two is due to friction.
Well, we see that that's not the case. There are a couple moons, I think, that spin the opposite of what you'd expect from the Big Bang. If everything was made from the Big Bang, everything should basically be spinning in the same direction.
No, that's
so
we're just talking about the Earth.
Questionable.
We're just
you
talking
did
about the
refer
Earth.
to the Big Bang to defend your model. So if that's going to be the crux
just talking about the Earth
of your model,
but
it will need to
remember
be,
how we started this off was I said that you can't demonstrate this magic Velcro moving atmosphere.
Yes,
agree
you
with
can.
that, though, right, Brenda?
That's wrong. Yeah, you can demonstrate it.
Mic check. What's
Okay,
going
please
on,
tell me
everyone?
how you do that.
Get a large round pool, put a motor above it, and put a paddle on the edge and have it turn slowly. Over time, the entire mass of that pool will be moving in lockstep with that paddle.
Brenda, did you just say that that the Earth is in angular momentum due to the Big Bang or whatever, that it is preserved its momentum?
I don't even understand that question.
Yeah,
So
what you just said, you just said that because of the BigAng, the Earth maintains its angular momentum. I was going to ask you, how does that account for when the Earth supposedly speed up and slows down during the seasons?
because the Earth is in an elliptical orbit around the sun.
That means it has to change speed. It wouldn't
Yes.
be conserving anything. It
No,
would
it's
be
still
speeding
conserved.
up and slowing down. Conservation means it's keeping the same speed.
Can you please explain
Right.
what conservation of momentum or angular momentum is, please?
I don't know what the reason for all this is.
And that's how you shut up a glober.
What?
So
Well,
Brenda, this
angular
pool with the
momentum is a
paddle and the
property that is
motor,
conserved.
the pool with the paddle and the motor, you think that's a legitimate demonstration of
You don't even
solid
you don't need to
sphere
pedal.
surrounded by a gas cloud rotating as one body with no difference from the surface of the sphere
The atmosphere
to
is
the
a
top,
fluid.
the outside of the gas cloud as it rotates.
The atmosphere is a fluid.
No, it's not.
So a
No,
pool
your-
with a
your
paddle attached to a
analogy-
motor, that's your demonstration.
Your globe is falling through space, not an atmosphere, son.
In this case,
Brenda,
in the
your
case of
analogy
the Earth,
demonstrates
Brenda,
the motion.
in the case of
It
the Earth,
demonstrates
Brenda, what is the paddle and the motor?
That would be the rotation of the Earth.
No. You that's what's keeping the water going, right? That's what gets the water going, correct?
The reason that the atmosphere moves along with the Earth is due to friction and the conservation of angular momentum.
Can you describe to me this friction and how that operates, what that physical mechanism is?
Well, the individual particles of the water collide
on
with
Earth.
the surface.
On Earth.
Yeah, the individual particles of the air collide with the Earth, which imparts motion to them.
So the air molecules are bouncing off of the Earth.
Yes.
And then what?
And that accelerates or decelerates them. And over time, it gets to be everything is moving at the same rate, rotating at the same rate, unless a force is applied.
How does the molecules in the upper atmosphere, how do they get their energy from the Earth from this friction you described?
It gets the molecules of the air bump into things on Earth like hills and mountains, right? And then that gives them kinetic energy, and then they go on to transfer that kinetic energy to other particles of the atmosphere, either oxygen, nitrogen, whatever, right? And that translates up into the atmosphere.
So let me get this straight. I just so I understand, I'll repeat it back to you. The air molecules, as the Earth rotates, bounce off, or the gas molecules, excuse me, bounce off of the mountains and the hills and whatnot. And those ones that actually touch the Earth bounce up, touch other air molecules, which touch other air molecules.
Yes.
And somehow that translates into the entire atmosphere up to, well, let's just say the Kármán line. We'll just use that as a boundary.
Sure.
And it goes much further into going the exact same speed of rotation.
Yes.
Do you hear that and do you go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. I can totally.
It makes sense because you can do the same thing with a round wash tub of water. You could put a spatula in the wash tub, move it around the edge, and eventually all of the water will be moving in the same rotational direction.
Not exactly the same thing, is it?
It is the same thing.
A
the
spatula
water collides.
and a bowl of water is the same as the spherical Earth inside of a gas cloud.
Right. It's the same principle. The spatula is moving. Water hits the spatula. It gains kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is conserved. So the water will then go on to collide with other water, giving it the kinetic energy, and eventually they'll all be moving at the same rotation as the spatula.
I doubt it. But can you demonstrate this with a sphere surrounded by a gas cloud, such as the Earth
Get
is said
a
to be?
Get a bowl, fill it with water, put a spoon in it, and rotate the spoon. Find out what happens. Do the experiment.
You think that rotating spoon, all that water out to the edge, is going to be going the exact same speed as the surface of that spoon? Doesn't that violate the
unless
go ahead.
No, unless there is additional forces applied, they'll all be moving with the same rotation.
Well, you know how I know your demonstration is bullshit. One of the ways.
Well, how do you think
it won't move the same, because just based on the friction of the outer wall, right? So that's not a good demonstration because the Earth doesn't have an outer wall. It's supposed to be a sphere surrounded by a gas cloud that's all moving together, isn't it?
So if you had like a round wash tub, and you wouldn't even have to put a spatula in it, you could just rotate the entire wash tub, and over time, all of the water inside of the wash tub will be rotating at the same speed as the wash tub.
So you can't do it with a sphere and a gas cloud, though.
You could insert a sphere into a stationary wash tub, rotate the sphere, and over enough time, all of the water in the
washtub
bathtub will be moving with the sphere.
Have you seen a demonstration of this?
I understand the principle. I haven't seen anybody do that specific
So the
test.
bathtub is your earth, right?
But when I stir a pot of soup,
The
it does
bathtub
exactly
pot-
what I'm talking about.
The metal pot is your earth. The metal pot's sitting still, Goofy. The stuff that's spinning, you're supposed to have the earth and the stuff spinning.
The principle is friction.
No, it's not. Without demonstration,
No,
that's
it is.
not.
It is.
You
It
saying
feels-
it is? So Brenda declares everything we physically see wrong, and she declares that pot's moving with the liquid.
No,
Okay.
you don't have even
I get you,
slightest
Brenda.
ability to understand.
I
that.
get you,
Brenda, where
the pot's
can
moving
I,
with liquid.
since all these gas molecules are continually bouncing off of the face of the Earth, the Earth is said to be rotating in one direction, I should be able to see some kind of phenomena, some kind of observation of this collision of the air molecules with the surface of the Earth, propelling them
see
in the
air.
direction of rotation. Where can I
Yes, you
witness
can.
this
You can't
phenomena?
see air, dude. You can't see air. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
you can.
Can't see air.
What's smoke?
Gas
What is smoke
molecules,
coming?
Brenda.
Smoke is
You can see
particles of
air.
soot. You
Brenda.
moron.
Brenda,
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 in the
can you
air.
answer the question? Where can I see this phenomena?
Brandon, you were born 4.5 billion years late, right?
What's that?
Yeah, Brenda, you're born late.
You're born late, 4.5 billion years. You would not see it because all the air is already rotating and does not need to accelerate nor decelerate.
Oh, so it has no need for the friction anymore, huh?
Right.
Yeah. Does that? Do you
Listen.
really believe that? That's kind of like Santa Claus
The way-
visits each house all night,
The
right?
way we do aerodynamic design is done by seeing the air. You put color in the air and you see it. You watch it.
You see
go
the air.
around the object.
Putting
Yeah, you
smoke in
see.
the air isn't seeing the air, is it?
Yeah, you're seeing the air, stupid.
No, you're not. You're seeing the smoke.
Which is showing you the air.
Well, that's your belief, right?
So colored water is not water that's colored. It wouldn't be showing you colored water do
Color
things.
isn't the water. The water is colorless.
But when you color the water, it's colored water now, right?
No, you have particles suspended in the water.
If I have a glass of colored water that's red water isn't red anymore, right? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying that water is colorless.
I have a color of red water. What are you saying again?
Water is colorless. It isn't red.
I put dye in it. Now it's red.
Yeah, the dye is not the water. It's in the water. It's suspended in the water, but it isn't the water.
And what's it going to show you?
It's going to show you the movement of the water.
So what's the dye going to show you in the air?
It's going to show you the movement of the atmosphere.
Can we have a demonstration of atmosphere sticking to a ball?
I just gave it to you.
No, you didn't. You didn't show me blue wind sticking to a purple ball.
Get a bowl, fill it with water.
No,
Put it on a turntable. Put it on a turntable.
I'll
Put
get
the
my
bowl
sphere.
of water.
I got my ball.
Get a record player. Put a bowl
I got
on it. Put a large bowl on it. Fill it with water and let it rotate at a slow speed. All of that water will eventually be turning at the same speed as the ball.
I want you to show us this. She keeps making that
No,
claim.
you do it. You do it. I'm not going to step
No.
and fetch.
See, that's what
I'm not
we
gonna
started
step
off
and
with,
fetch.
saying that you couldn't demonstrate this. Remember, that was the beginning. So
This is like something that children do in kindergarten between cookies and
no, it's
nap
not.
time.
No, I don't remember doing this in kindergarten. Sorry.
I built an electric motor in 3rd grade. You fucking idiots.
This has nothing to do with an electric motor. No one's denying the existence of electric motor. Brenda, how can I falsify this model of the Velcro rotating as one atmosphere?
Oh, sure. If you set up the experiment, right, where you have a bowl, right, rotating, and the water doesn't move with the bowl, then you have falsified it.
Okay.
Brenda,
So
you
how
keep
long
on,
is it going to take for the water to be in lockstep with the surface of the spoon?
It would probably depend on the viscosity of the fluid and the size of the bowl.
Which
And the
fluid
speed
do you
of
want me to
rotation.
use? How big a bowl do you want me to use? What
Why
size
don't you
spoon do you want
design
me
the
to use?
experiment? It would be a good exercise for the student to construct
You
this
really don't
experiment
know what the
for
fuck you're
themselves.
talking about, do you? This is all ad lib jerk off bullshit.
Said Globe would already have this experiment somewhere in a lab 1,000,000 times over.
Well, the thing that's getting me is that Brenda keeps on appealing to confined, closed containers when the Earth is not that. It's open on the other side towards quote unquote space.
The Earth
so
is
Earth
not.
is an open. It's open. It's not contained.
The Earth is contained. It is contained by gravity.
Gravity can only form a container if everything goes where gravity directs it. There are things that go up against gravity. There are things that float against gravity. So gravity is no container at all.
That's a lie, and you know it's a lie. You've been told many times that what buoyancy is. You know what it is. You are a liar.
You subsume buoyancy under your paradigm, saying that gravity makes buoyancy
What is the equation for buoyancy? What is the equation for buoyancy?
You're a known liar. Medium.
What is the equation for buoyancy?
Buoyancy, I guess there's specific gravity.
Does it have G in there? Does it have G in there in the equation? Is G
in the G in there somewhere? Yeah.
G is in the equation.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's a function of gravity. You're proven wrong. Sit down.
But all that is just you pulling out a stopwatch and seeing how long it takes something to descend through the medium. It's no substance that is necessary. We can just reinterpret the math with a medium and make that 9.8 meters per second relative to the medium as opposed to relative to the mass of the Earth.
Mediums don't make things move.
Really?
Really?
What?
Mediums do not make things move.
Okay.
Crazy.
Forces make things move. Mediums do not.
The medium has no force?
If you're surrounded by water and water controlling your body up, what's going on there? When you swim through water, you need water.
Oh, who's trying to get in?
Just to give me, this won't take long, guys. This won't take long. Brenda, if you've got a solid object, I've been driving along, so I haven't been able to comment, but I've just pulled over. If you've got a solid sphere I don't care if you put it in a tank of water or gas, it doesn't really matter, and spin it around. The surface of that solid sphere that's directly in contact with the gas or the liquid, is it an uncompromised bond between the two substances, or will the solid object slip against the fluid or the gas? Will it slip?
There's not talking about chemical bonds. I'm talking about kinetic energy. The spinning.
Okay, so am I. So am I. But the solid object will slip against the gas.
Don't let me reply.
Oh, I see.
Right. So
Sorry,
it takes more than a sentence or two. So you put a sphere in a contained area of air or water, right? And you spin it. Eventually, all of the air or the water will be spinning along with the sphere because of friction.
Yes, I know your story, but let me reiterate again. Where the solid object meets the gas or the fluid or the liquid, I don't care which medium it is, where it meets it, will it slip against, will the solid be slipping against the gas or the liquid? Or
it will still be imparting kinetic energy to the fluid, which will be translated to the other parts of the fluid, and which eventually will culminate in all of the fluid rotating along with the sphere.
No. So you are either being deceptive or intentionally stupid. If the solid is, you could stand there for 100 years, and the fluid and the gas would never ever end up in lockstep with the solid.
Do
the experiment.
How much you put on it?
How can it? There's no loss of energy between the solid. There's no loss of energy between the solid and the gas or the liquid. None at all.
They think if you start a drill in a pool, that the pool is going to start rotating at the same speed as the drill bit.
There's no loss of energy. No loss of energy between the two. Between the solid and the liquid or the gas, there's no loss of energy at all. Zero. Is that what you're saying? Zero.
Some energy will be lost to heat.
Then it will never ever reach lockstep. It can't.
That's not true. Some energy, not all of the energy.
Show us, Brenda. Show us lockstep air.
You do it. Get a wash tub of some kind. Put a drill. Put some kind of spherical object
There
in
is
there.
a loss of energy. It cannot reach lockstep.
Only partially lost due to heat. Do the experiment. Do the experiment.
Don't tell me to do the experiment. You guys talking maths and theory all the time. Explain to me mathematically, if there is a loss, how can you end up with a net zero loss? How can that possibly occur?
I didn't say that there was. What are you talking about?
Well, if it's to reach lockstep, if there's no, you would have to have zero slip. You would have to be zero. It's what you say is impossible.
No, it's not.
I understand it's a narrative, but it's impossible.
If you start swinging the weight faster and faster and faster, the weight is going to eventually pull out of your hands if you don't stop. If you just keep going and going and going, and your muscle, you're not even going to be able to hold on to it with your hands. That's an actual physical thing you're holding the shit with. Come on, Brenda. You're saying air.
So you dispute this. So do the experiment. Find yourself one of those old-fashioned wash tubs. Fill it with water. Get a drill. Put a beach ball on the end of the drill and spin it.
Brenda, I want to see air stick to the sphere.
You do it. You do the experiment.
I want to see air stick to a sphere and go 1,000 miles an hour at the same as the sphere, with the stick and colored air moving all in lockstep. And
It's called gravity.
No, you have to have a floating thing in the air too, like a couple little particles or leaves.
Don't have to
do how fast the air is moving compared to the object it's moving around. You have to have a stick on the object. The stick has to be moving 1,000 miles an hour. Then you have to.
The hell? I think we just lost our sound. What's going on here? Must be that time of night, huh? I don't know why we lost it. Let me see if we can get it back.
Here.
There we go.
I don't know why that's hard.
No, you're wrong, Brenda. Sticking stuff in a washer doesn't prove the globe having air atmosphere on the outside.
If you believe I'm wrong, if you believe I'm wrong, do the experiment and prove that I'm wrong.
I'm moving your washer and dryer around, Brenda, and it's not moving the air with me. Why? I don't get what you're saying.
Why do we need to do that? I mean, you're the one making the claims.
Because we know from experience that you'll just go nuh-uh to anything we say. So you need to pony up. If you are actually interested in finding the truth, you would do this in order to find the truth.
What's that saying about extraordinary claims made without evidence can be dismissed? What's that saying? This Velcro magic rotating atmosphere is like you telling us about Santa Claus.
This isn't extraordinary. This is not extraordinary.
Demonstration.
This is like elementary school.
No,
well, we'll get some sand particles and make them stick to the outside of the ball. I just want to see them move 1,000 miles an hour in lockstep with the ball.
Or give us a video of some kindergartners doing this experiment. If this is
you said kindergarten. Yeah, that's right.
I'll ask this question differently. What makes the air be in lockstep with stationary Earth?
It's not. We need a demonstration. That's what we're waiting for.
Once the wind started, what stops it?
What are you talking about? It's never stopped, does it? There's all these thermal.
Are you familiar with winds? What stops them? What stops them?
Thermal energy? It hits a wall. I don't know. Lots of things.
So if it hits a wall, it can stop it. But if it hits a wall, it can accelerate it?
Well, that's another good point. On your rotating atmosphere, you'd have that atmosphere colliding and bouncing the other way, right?
Right? The winds that are faster or slower than the atmosphere will collide with Earth and will accelerate or slow down. Correct.
I'm really struggling to see your point about a stationary Earth. It makes perfect sense on a
I
stationary
mean,
Earth.
we know there are winds, and something has to stop them. Otherwise, they will just grow all the time.
What? And why would they just keep going? Yeah, okay, yeah,
I don't
they're
know.
stopped by a lot of reasons, but
how does
what?
it? How does a wind start?
You know how winds stop.
I have heat. We have heat all the time. So what will stop
Heat
the
versus
winds? We have
cold.
heat all the time. The winds will get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Heat versus
There's nothing to
cold.
stop them.
What do you mean there's nothing to stop? Do you think that they
No,
have
what will
endless
stop the wind?
energy? They have endless energy? Is that what you think?
What do you mean endless energy? What do you need energy?
Well, what the
like
fuck are
the
you
endless
talking
energy
about?
that keeps your Earth spinning all the time, that conserves the momentum throughout the eons and billions of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, energy is conserved unless it transferred to something else.
For energy to be conserved, it would have to keep going in that direction. Airplanes would not be
Right.
able to turn around if energy was conserved while the Earth is not contained. The wind would drag behind the Earth like a comet unless it was contained.
And butterflies.
The Earth is a totally different medium from the air. While the Earth is moving, it would drag behind it.
Hey, Brandon.
Leaves and grass show you that.
Are you there? Are you there, Brandon?
This is totally unintuitive. Totally.
So, Lemon, just a minute. I want to talk to Brandon. So you asked for something in water causing the entire container full of water eventually to rotate with it, right? You want a demonstration?
No, that's not
You
what
don't
I
want
asked
it.
for.
Now you don't want it.
Oh, yeah, of your thing. Yeah, let's see it.
Thanks, Brenda.
There you go. There's the video.
Magnetic stir. Magnetism.
Let's see what we got.
It's a capsule. It's an oblong bar. It starts spinning, and eventually all of the liquid spins with it.
With a container, no less.
The container's sitting still, brother.
Flat Earth debunked. Eat it and weep.
Still.
Flat Earth
Where is it?
Eat it
Where
and
is this
weep.
thing?
It's on my screen. I'm sharing it, but let's see what it does.
Oh,
Okay, so it's
okay.
spinning.
Let me and see what's going on. There's whatever. Maybe not. What is this supposed to be?
Is it changing directions, or is that just due to the frame rate? What's
It
going on?
shows the principle that an object spinning in a fluid will eventually have the entire fluid spinning with it.
That's not a sphere. That looks like a pill.
That looks like your cup isn't rotating at all.
Wow, that looks like a vortex forming above it.
Because of why?
Magnetism.
Can you show us this vortex on the Earth? You don't think that this is causing any differential winds on that? You think this water's moving at the same speed as the surface of that capsule, Brenda?
The water is moving with the the stir bar.
How can you show that? Because here's what I see. I
In
see
the
it
video.
disturbing this water a lot. And one of the things you have to demonstrate is that the atmosphere is moving in lockstep with the surface of the object, the solid within it.
The jar. The jar is holding.
Look, it's got a fucking tornado in it.
Yeah.
So what? The jar's sitting still, Brenda.
That's not lockstep.
The jar is sitting still.
Look at that. Look, you can't even see it anymore. It's disturbing so much.
In a constant turmoil of storms and winds forever? Is that your claim? Because sure, that would maybe demonstrate possibility. What?
The water at the top spinning.
That's supposed to be moving with the jar.
Let's bring it down. The water at the top spinning.
This is global Earth debunked because we don't have constant storms twisting and spinning and turning all over the place.
Brenda, we have
Brenda.
days that are so
That,
calm
right?
you can't even see the clouds moving. Are you expecting us to believe that something as tornado like this would give us the cloudless still days that we have on Earth that are calm without even a wind in the sky. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
And also notice how almost all of the winds are going in one direction. You're not seeing any wind that's going counter at all, and airplanes flying against that, good luck. You'd be going in one direction alone.
Right. So do you want an answer to that?
Globe NATO.
So the answer is, right, the answer is that on a calm day with no wind, the air that is sitting next to you is moving at 1,000 miles an hour as you are. It is. The air next to you is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, and so are you.
You can light your lighter in it all day. That's cool, Brenda. Thank you.
Nice story, Brenda. You can't demonstrate any of it, though, unfortunately.
I just did.
Light your lighter in 1,000 mile an hour wind, Brenda.
I just destroyed your entire argument.
By lighting a lighter in 1,000 mile an hour wind. Let's see it.
And if you think you did, then you don't understand the argument.
Well, Brenda, this is very interesting. I'd still like to see how gravity can be that container there. But I guess this is a possibility for some, not for me, though.
Gravity is a container because it takes energy to escape the gravity well created by the mass of the Earth.
It doesn't appear to be much energy. A butterfly can flap its wings and go against this gravity.
Butterflies don't weigh a lot.
With no tilt for every 69 miles, this little bitty Earth. What the?
So the
only
container.
Reason there's people out there who don't think that you sound like a nut job, like a Scientologist or those whack jobs that yells on the corner, is because we've heard it our whole life. Because what you're saying is fucking wacko.
Well, all you have is nuh-uh.
No, we have a lot more, and you
Sorry,
have zero demonstrations.
All you just gave me is nuh-uh. Just now.
The cup was sitting still, Brenda. That's being the container.
And the water inside the cup was still until the stir bar started rotating, and then all of the water was rotating with the stir bar.
Stir bar? Earth is a stir bar now?
That's what they're called.
Anyway, all right, Brenda. Thank you for the entertainment. I'm gonna end the show, the live show, but I'll be back to record.
And Brandon, it doesn't bother me one little bit if you think I'm crazy. Not even a little.
Okay.
We don't think you're certified nuts.
No, you're all right, Brenda. You are crazy, but you're all right. The shit that you're saying is crazy.
I don't engage in ad hominem attacks. I refute you with reason and logic. Reason and logic.
Take your straight jacket off and we'll talk in logic.
Reason and logic.
We all need goals. All right. Thank you to the panel for making the live show entertaining and for the discussion. And I'll be back. I'm going to record the after show just so you guys know that you're being recorded. Till who knows when. Sometimes I leave it on all night, so just be aware. But thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. Anybody dying to say something before I end the show out? You want YouTube to hear?
Hoorah!
No demonstration from a globe. Thank you.
Flat Earth debunked.
Earth is sphere.
All right, that's a good thing to end on. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. Hope you were entertained and maybe learned a thing or two. Although that's probably debatable. That's all right. Shout out to the Science of Science for the couple super chats. And then there was one more. I'm gonna remember who it was. It was Silent Zero. Silent Zero, shout out. I think it was Silent Zero. Anyway, thank you guys. And shout out to the channel members. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed the show. Science Works in Mysterious Ways. That is a really good show. Good. And we will hopefully be back tomorrow, as long as work doesn't keep me away. But you will see me one way or the other before the end of the week. Check tomorrow for the show, and and we'll see you around 5 o'clock. Bye.
Understand